Okay, good afternoon, members of the public. Thank you all for coming back. It's now 1:25, and we're on page 15. Page 15, members from the Committee on Budget. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam.
Chair, I move that Committee Report 184 be adopted and Bill 22 CD2 as amended past third reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam for the explanation.
Chair, this relates to the Executive Operating Budget and Program for the fiscal year July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2026.
Thank you. Members, we have multiple budget floor draft summaries have been submitted for consideration. Prior to accepting any motion to amend to a floor draft, I'll ask each council member to explain the proposed floor draft summary. Starting with Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you so much, Chair. I've submitted various amendments that incorporated some of the department's concerns, things that particular areas, not just in my district, but that would help the departments function and operate correctly into my FD1. You can see it as it's listed online. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Next, we have Councilmember Dos Santos Tam.
Thank you, Chair. My amendments are listed on the posted FD1 online. Some major highlights are shifting positions between DPP's land use permits and planning divisions back into the administration function, adding in funding into the highway beautification, using highway beautification funds for the Waikiki Transportation Management Association's bus staging project, adding funding for ocean safety through Hanauma Bay funds, and making various other technical cleanup items off of the approved CD2.
Thank you. We also have a floor draft proposed by Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. The only amendments we had made to Budget Committee's draft were, of course, incorporating the language anticipated from Bill 36, and then also allocating $20,000 to OER to do the same type of project that they did in Chinatown. You know, given that the Bill 36 language is moot, and given the scope and severity of some of the floating floor drafts, I'm going to withdraw this one, and I'd be supporting budget chairs or other approaches. Malo.
Thank you. Members, I also have a floor draft which I took into account all of the floor drafts which were proposed by Councilmember Tupola, Dos Santos Tam, and Wire, and tried to incorporate as much as I could from those drafts into my floor draft. But looking holistically, we identified departments that have historically carried a higher rate of vacancy and our track record of lapsing funds. We have reduced approximately 33% of inactive vacancy balances across specific departments: BFS, CORE, CSD, DDC, DFM, DPR, EMS, HFD, HPD, MDO, and prosecuting attorney, and repurpose those funds into active resources for the benefit of the city at large. In some cases, salary reductions were redistributed across divisions to ensure that they would not exceed the historical lapses of specific division. These reductions are further protected by the transfer resolution process, which ensures that departments are fully supported and in no case should there be any disruption of services, operations, or loss of employees. The funds generated from these reductions have been reallocated for strategic additions by the Council. In addition, after fully financing the FY26 improvements to the Sand Island Treatment Facility with existing sewer funds, the remaining balance of the reduction from the general fund will be used to ensure that the sewer fund is made whole. We have established a provisional account with the general fund to allow the sewer fund to access it as a contingency when needed. If the funds go unused for sewer activities, they will lapse back into the general fund. Just as a note, members, there were approximately $8.5 million in council ads, which include as a highlight, $112,000 for a data scientist to assist the city with city's data needs, $250,000 for 2 FTEs for federal grants to assist in the coordination of securing federal grants, $500,000 shall be appropriated out of the current expenses for a contractor to represent the city in Washington, D.C. to identify advocates for and advocate for secure federal funding opportunities. $218,000 for 3 community equity liaison positions. $89,000 for outreach liaison with underserved communities. $85,000 to help our neighborhood boards engage with and inform their communities. $1.8 million increasing the Highway Beautification Fund for towing of abandoned vehicles. $150,000 for the Oahu Historic Preservation Commission. $100,000 for hazmat testing and abatement in city facilities. $400,000 for HPD community policing teams in all 8 patrol districts. $287,000 for HPD crime reduction units. Fully funding our newly formed Honolulu Ocean Safety Department, adding $380,000 in current expenses for things like yellow foam rescue tubes at our lifeguard towers to available on off hours, and a communications campaign about dangerous tourist attractions and lifeguard equipment storage at Kalanianaole Beach Park in Waianae. $1.5 million and 6 FTEs to add new ambulance and staff to Maunawili, Ko'olina, and Ko'olaupoko. $1 million additional funds for emergency or routine maintenance and repair of our streams, channels, and ditches within the Alawai watershed. $200,000 to repair special needs housing. $1.3 million $150,000 out of current expenses shall be appropriated for each council district for park improvements. $300,000 for a basketball court at Blaisdell Arena, and $500,000 for traffic safety program expenses to implement traffic speed reduction around school zones. That's currently in the FD. And I apologize, members, OCS didn't get us a copy of this floor draft until this morning to file. But as a lesson, perhaps we need to start our budget process sooner and get this out of the way so that we're not crunched over into the end. But that starts the discussion, members. Why don't we take the testimony and then we can further debate the FDs. So, Mr. Clerk, who do we have that registered to testify?
Yes, sir. We have Ms. Lanley Wasa, Shelby Billionaire, Rick Eggett registered.
Thank you. Starting with Natalie Wasa.
Thank you, Chair. Council members, Natalie Wasa for the record. I oppose the FD1 that Chair Waters just read. You know, I was all set to say thank you, Budget Chair, for your CD2 and the removal of the use of the general fund for sewer activities. But here we are looking at $19.1 million in a provision for sewer activities. We've heard several times how that is potentially jeopardizing our bond rating, which could lead to higher interest costs. I don't understand how you can still be thinking about trying to do this. It's not good fiscal policy. I don't know what else to say about it, other than it makes, to get there, you have to have significant cuts to different departments who need some of that funding. A couple other things I just wanted to mention, which I hadn't brought up before. The feral chicken problem is significant. I am concerned that now they are digging into foundations along sidewalks, around street poles, and that undermines the foundation, potentially causing pedestrian accidents and other problems. And those are my comments. Please do not pass the floor draft submitted by Tommy Waters this morning at 8:30. Thank you.
I actually have a question for you. The main objection is because we're using cash instead of a bond for the sewer fund, right?
Yes, and you know, if I'm an investor, I want to be able to be assured that there is funding out there that is going to be used as has been stated in bond covenants. Now, I understand your idea is to use cash so that you don't have to go to bonding. However, you know, if that's really the intent, why aren't you folks doing that with the rail, $10 million? You know, years ago, when the skin in the game came about, the 10 million or whatever it was at that time was put in the operating budget. And then they moved it to CIP because you can pay it out over a longer period of time. And it's for a long use asset. But you're not doing that. So I feel like there's something else going on here. And we're going to look at your Bill 60 draft too. It's just not making sense to me, and yes, that's my opposition.
Well, you agree, though, that if you don't have to float a bond, you don't have to pay the interest rate that goes along with the bond, right? It's like using a credit card versus using cash. If you use your credit card, you have to pay the interest. If you use cash, you save money on the interest. And that's all it is. It's as simple as that. There's no hiding the ball. There's no trying to deceive anybody. Just use cash instead of credit.
I understand.
Simple as that.
I understand that. And to get there, you are making some significant cuts to certain departments that are going to be harmful, in my opinion, to those departments. So we disagree, and I ask the council members not to pass that. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any follow-up questions? Seeing none, thank you. Next, we have Shelby Billionaire. Shelby Billionaire, second call. Okay. Next, Angela Melody Young.
Aloha, Angela Melody Young, testifying, voting yes to support the budget of the executive operating budget and program for the City Council. So all the offices behind the scenes of all the departments and under the leadership of the directors and the mayor's administration, I've had the privilege to get to know the internal functions of the different teams contributing to public works. I'm a fan of every single one of your offices and the hard work that comes out of the departments. I'm not gonna go over and try to brush up on every aspect of the work in the departments, but from emergency management operations of HPD to the training of the CPTs and the neighborhood security watch programs, to the prosecuting attorney's functions, retaining the best attorneys in the county system, and the work of all the other offices, I appreciate every single one of you behind the scenes and live in action in the field. And so the budget looks really good to enhance the lives of the community, and we should run with it.
Is there anybody else who'd like to testify on the budget? Andy Kawano? Aloha, welcome.
Aloha. Thank you, Chair Waters, honorable council members. Along the lines of Ms. Iwasa's testimony, you know, we were kind of confused and surprised this morning when we saw the posted FD1 by yourself, Chair Waters, and the reason why is we spent a lot of time with Budget Chair, who you assigned, you know, to come up with the CD2. All of our cabinet members spent a lot of time to restore salaries, and there were some changes that have been made that does not make any sense. For instance, the fire department, as you mentioned, you must have taken away a set percentage or something like that from their salary, but $1.7 million when you have a department that runs a tight ship doesn't make any sense. There were no other amendments of that size against fire taken in the previous drafts for CD1, CD2. We don't understand what the basis is. With regard to my department, you express your interest in supporting us to build capacity, but you've taken out over $1 million so that, you know, we're gonna have to now prioritize. If your bill passes, we'd have to prioritize and select which positions we're gonna fill in accounting and fiscal, real property assessment, and it's just gonna make things hard. We have, and again, I've said this over and over and over, it doesn't make sense to take funding out of departments for salaries and current expenses and set it aside in a provisional for sewer activities when we in fact should not use it. You know, we've gone through all of the bond covenant promises we make every year when we issue bonds. We have about $2.5 billion of bonds outstanding, revenue bonds outstanding for sewer, including the senior and junior levels. It does not make any sense to set the money aside. We can't use it. We're not going to use it. We're not going to put it in the sewer fund. The money's going to lapse, and funding that we could have used to support our various city agencies to provide services will not be available. We're doing a disservice to the public, and it's not the right thing to do for city operations. We very much oppose setting up more than $19 million in a provisional using general funds for sewer activities. Does not make sense.
Thank you. But let me ask you this. In the CD1, which is on the table right now, there were certain positions, funding for positions cut. So this version doesn't actually tie the money that we're repurposing to an actual position, which then would, as you mentioned, allow departments to prioritize which positions to fill. So if you had to go back to the CD versus the FD as proposed by me, it gives the departments more latitude to decide which positions to fill, right?
I just don't agree with that. Whether we have the cash available or whether both cash and positions were removed, if we have the funding to fill positions, we can still do it. We can always hire personal service contracts if we have to for a short period of time until we get things addressed, maybe during the next budget cycle. So there's still a way to fill positions if we have to go that route. I just don't understand why you would reestablish the provisional for sewer activities using general fund monies. It doesn't make any sense.
But before we get to that, just talking about budget and fiscal services, your department lapsed $4,629,914 last year. So what we're proposing is taking 30% of this 4.6 million, which amounts to $1,397,156 from what otherwise was lapsed, and
So I look at-
repurposing that so that we can try to lower the fees of our.
You're repurposing
Sure.
it for something that we can't do. And I look at it very differently. Operationally, you take away 30% of our funding for vacant positions, or 33%, close to that. That means that when my branch chiefs hire or division chiefs hire, they need to identify 1/3 of positions that they're going to deprioritize such that they can focus on others. In the meantime, we have a very dynamic workforce environment locally, very low unemployment. If we lose any of the positions that we de-emphasize in terms of filling positions, we lose that level of positions because typically we have several positions in the same class. We go backwards. We have to hire all vacant positions all the time.
Well, just to be clear, you still have approximately $3.3 million in FY26 to fill vacant positions in your department under this proposal. You still have $3.3 million. And you can do that anyway, spend it any way you want. We're giving you the authority to prioritize how to spend that $3.3 million. I mean, it's been discussed whether or not we should take all the vacant positions. And we thought, no, we want to give the departments some leeway in deciding how to spend that. And again, for you, you still have 3.3 million, right? In some of the other departments, DPP as an example, $11,731,361 was lapsed last year. That's $11.7 million. All we're asking is that we use 1.5 million of the 11 million and repurpose that. To me, that's not unreasonable to ask.
But you're repurposing it for an unreasonable use. It
So
doesn't
you're
make-
okay with us repurposing, just not for the sewer fund?
No, I'm not okay. I'm not okay with you repurposing any of the monies. You know, we oversee operations. I feel that in these times, we have to work towards hiring and filling all positions. If we don't have the positions backed up with budgeted dollars, we have to make a call on priority. We have to decide which ones we go after, because we're not going to fill positions without budget.
But for DPP,
Without
again,
dollars.
as an example, DPP still has $9 million in vacancy funds that could be used any way the director wants, $9 million. And
think-
every year, we come back and there's money that keeps getting lapsed over and over. And by the way, $8,512,584 members is your all ads. It's your ads that these vacancy positions are paying for. So if we replace anything that you want us to replace, members, you got to keep in mind that where it's going to be taken from is your ads. So just a thought. But any follow-up questions with Director? Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. And mahalo, Director, for being here. I think I was equally disturbed and shocked by the floor draft as well. Seeing ambulances cut to go to, park improvements in areas where there already are park improvements. But I wanted to focus in on the bond rating conversation, just so the public has a very clear and legally correct view. So when you talk about the city's bond rating, what happens if the city's bond rating goes down?
Debt service goes up because interest rates will increase.
Okay, and tell me more. So that means we actually end up paying more.
You're going to pay more. So over the term of the bond and the repayment period, you're going to pay more in terms of total debt service.
Okay, and when you talk about covenants, what is a covenant that you're talking about in terms of the covenants made during the bonding?
The covenant comes in, it has a lot of significant requirements. A key one is that the covenant restricts what the sewer fund's money can be used for. So the sewer fund charges that generates revenues for cash flow into the fund should be used to, number one, pay for operating costs of the fund, cover the maintenance costs of the assets that the fund uses, pay debt service on revenue bonds outstanding and issued, and also should provide for any cash reserves required to meet our debt coverage service ratio.
Okay, so in other words, the funds that need to be used to pay for sewer improvements and the debt service needs to be self-funding. Is that simply put?
When talking about the sewer fund, yes. Simply put, yes.
And that's based on commitments we've made? And
There are contracts, yeah.
yeah,
that we've
and then
signed.
changes to that could affect how bond agencies rate Honolulu,
Correct.
which in turn could affect the rate at which we can borrow and in turn increase the amount that we owe.
That's correct.
Okay, so just so it's clear, the issue is not whether or not we need to bring down, the impact on families or lessen the financial impact, because what we're talking about specifically is how do we structure the sewer fund and the improvements. Now the question is, outside of that, are there ways that we can bring down the financial burden on families?
Well, I believe Budget Chair's proposal does that. You're right. We changed the 70-30 weighting between a base rate and a volumetric rate to 40-60. So if you use less water as a family, you pay less. We're also going to look at providing a care, they call it a program to provide a discount or credit to low-income families. So we're going to look at implementing that as well. So there are things that are being done to help families get through the increases.
Yeah.
But the families will have to also pitch in as well.
Okay.
It's a team effort that we're going to have to undertake
So
to get through these increases that are in front of us, so that we're back on track.
okay, so
down
I'm
the road.
understanding outside of the actual rate, which you're asking the council to set to be self-funding for the fund, so that we can maintain our bond rating, there's a way to provide additional financial relief, right? So the rebate program is what you're talking about.
Yes.
That's just one tool. You're saying you would look particularly at low, moderate income families, people that need it, and give them a rebate that, depending on their usage rate, could cover the entire increase for the next several years.
Possibly.
Possibly,
yes.
right? Depending on their
Possibly.
usage, right? And I know folks are concerned about the income threshold and who qualifies, but none of that is structured yet. So we can give input on that, right? And like you said, a budget chair restructured the sewer rate bill to shift so that you can actually bring down your bill by using less water. Whereas before, the separation was structured where the base rate was a little bit,
Councilmember, Bill
Higher.
60 is on later in the calendar.
pardon?
Bill 60 is later on in the calendar. What you're arguing is Bill 60.
No, what I'm arguing is the use of funds, yeah.
Okay.
Are you asking me to?
Please proceed.
Yeah. We also have the resiliency fund, right?
That's correct.
Yeah,
There's
so-
a provision for that with money set aside.
Money set aside, and
Yeah.
CCSR has talked about how we can use that to even, say, pump out more rebates on the water side or other types of financial relief, right? I mean, none of this is set yet, but I guess my point being is there are mechanisms to bring down costs for families and for households without jeopardizing our financial stability as a city and the potential for our bond rating to go down and taxpayers to ultimately have to pay more.
There are, yes.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Mahalo, Chair.
Thank you. I think the E&V director testified at our last hearing that the financial aid offered was $25 per ratepayer. So to me, that's just a drop in the bucket. But talking about the bond covenant, the bond covenant applies to bonds that we've already issued and for future bonds, correct?
Bonds already issued,
Right.
yeah.
And any of the proposals currently on the calendar for today should take care of the bonds that have already been issued, right? At
Can
the
you-
lowest, it's 6.75% increase this year, up to possibly 9%. That should take care of the bonds that we've issued in the past, right?
If you're talking about Bill 60, that's correct.
Well, we're just talking about bond covenant, the issue of bond covenant, and your concern about the bond rating. So if we don't issue a bond and use cash, the bond covenant does not apply, right?
Use cash, how? Can you explain
For
that? I'm sorry.
CIP, for any project. As an example, in this year's FY26 budget, what has been proposed is $43 million in projects for E&V, of which you're proposing to use $13 million in cash and $30 million in bonding, right? That's in the 6-year plan.
I don't have the number off the top of my head, but we are using cash financing
Right.
for CIP in the sewer fund.
Right,
Yeah.
13 million. All I'm saying is, let's pay for that 43 million in cash, the whole thing. Thereby, we don't have to issue another bond, and the bond covenant, at least for this year, won't apply.
You don't get credit if you do that. If you use general fund cash to invest in sewer improvements, you're not going to get credit for it. The rating agencies will look at what we're doing and go back to the rate covenants or bond covenants that we have to comply with, and they're going to factor in subsidies that we're making from an outside source. Once you start doing that, they're going to factor it in. And once they do that, they run their models, and they are going to reach the conclusion that we don't have the capacity to increase sewer charges to cover our costs of operating the sewer facilities.
Well, again, I'm just talking about 1 year. 1 year of using cash and not floating that $30 million in bonds. As we discussed, over the course of the entire bond, it's about 58% interest that we're paying. So that's 58% interest on the $30 million that we're saving just for this 1 year. And that's all I'm proposing. Saving people money.
you can't, you won't be able to sustain that 58% that you're talking about, going forward if you keep using cash.
Right. And again,
You're not gonna
I
be able to do
didn't
that.
propose this for 6 years. This was just for 1 year. And the idea really is to try to, well, let me also add that later we are going to be talking about Bill 60. And at the very minimum, out of the 3 proposals on the table, it's 6.75% increase. Actually, on all 3 for the first year. That should be enough to cover whatever is anticipated for this upcoming
When we get
year.
to Bill 60, we can have Dr. Babcock talk about, the coverage. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough.
Chair.
Okay, members, Councilmember Tupola.
Just a real quick question. Thank you, Director, for being here. My question about the bond interest, and you're saying that we need the bond because it's helping our rating, correct? So using that form of financing is suggested. Is that what you're saying?
The bonds don't improve the rating, the credit worthiness of the fund. So if you're looking at the general fund or the sewer fund, both funds borrow money. The general fund borrows bonds that are general obligation bonds. The sewer fund borrows revenue bonds that are tied to the revenue generated by the sewer fund. So the financial health of the 2 funds drive the ratings, not the bonds that you issue.
Understood. I don't want to open a long discussion about this, but I had suggested the loan that was being put out by the EPA called the Water Infrastructure Loan. Is that even a possibility? I mean, that interest rate was 3% and most cities renegotiated it at 1%. What is your thoughts?
We can look at it again. We've already looked at it over time. When I started, we looked at it for rail, for instance. But the rates at that time were really low. And even though those bonds are at a AAA rating, so you're talking about the TIFIA type bond, it's from the same family.
But I guess
the rates were lower at that time. But at the same time, we were borrowing at 1%. Because rates were low.
What Chair Waters is suggesting is that we use cash so that we're not paying interest. What I'm suggesting is there any option, if you don't want to use cash, that we use a low interest loan so that we're not incurring so much interest? I mean, the city of San Francisco, when they used the WIFIA, saved themselves $436 million in interest.
You got to look at each situation separately. We already have a low credit rate. Our credit rating is really strong.
No, I'm
It's
talking
at
about interest rate.
Credit rating impacts interest rate. So if your credit rating is close to a 3A rating, the impact to interest is not going to be that much. And if you enter into one of those WIFIA or TIFIA loans when interest rates are high, you cannot refinance. You cannot refund those borrowings. That's what we learned. So if you go in at the wrong time, if rates come down, you cannot refinance.
I'm not sure if that's true.
Oh, it is. It is.
Well, I did read the documents where they have refinanced it, but I hear what you're saying. All I'm trying to prove or ask is if there are other methods that we can still have interest savings. That's what Chair Waters is trying to do. Save us from paying millions of dollars of interest. So that's it. But thank you very much for the input. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions for the Director of Budget and Fiscal Services? Councilmember Wire, your second time.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Getting off bond rating, I just wanted to ask Director, does the FD we're talking about, does that cut any warm bodies at the city?
You're talking about Chair Waters' FD that was posted this morning? I believe so. So we have our department staff here. I believe there are instances where either they've hired or in the process of hiring, whereby the cut would impact funding for bodies. So if you want to listen to them, we can. They're available to testify. Yeah. But yes, we have those situations. I'm really concerned about fire, though, because again, they run their budget tight, and just cutting $1.7 million, and the basis is probably taking a percentage of their overall lapse for the prior year. Just keep in mind that when we look at lapsing, we're looking at fiscal year #24. Every year is different. So if you roll that forward, their FY25 number could be a lot lower. And if you cut $1.7 million for FY26, hey, they may have to shut some of the fire stations down, to cover everything at the end of the year as you get into fourth quarter. So cutting the budgets too tight to the bone, especially for departments that run a tight ship, is not a good idea.
Director, thank you, Chair.
Well, actually, the CD1 cuts live bodies, right?
Excuse me, Chair, which agency are you talking about?
The CD2 that's currently on the table, the committee draft, what came out of the budget committee, that cuts live bodies. Isn't that right? That's why I replenished every single one of those in the FD. Every single one of those to your department heads. We replenished every one of them because the CD2 cuts live bodies. We got department communications that said exactly that. So we put the money back in the FD from each position and just took a lump sum and allows each department head to prioritize how to use the vacant. And again, we're talking about vacancy money here, right? That's been lapsed. Yeah? Every year there's lapsing. You know that.
We're working hard to fill the positions. We're not going to hit it all the time. People retire. People leave the city. There's always going to be some vacancies in any agency, even the ones that have a low vacancy level. But if you don't provide the money, all of us will have to, from a money or funding standpoint, prioritize. I mean, and hire based on funding we have available. We're not targeting to fill all positions when we do that.
Thank you. But members, anytime we add any funds, and we're adding $8,512,584, all of us, you gotta find it somewhere. And I found it from vacant positions. Yeah, so just be careful. If we're gonna replace the money that's being asked, we gotta cut somewhere, right? And it'd be great if you guys can raise your hand and say, take the money that's for my district, right? Please. No, everybody's going, okay, go take it from the Corp Council's fund to settle lawsuits. That's what a lot of you did. That's so easy to do. But really, the hard job is actually looking at each department and figuring out where we can reprioritize the money. And that's all I'm asking members. Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. So I do see what is done, and I know that I've done this before as budget chair, normally in the CD1 or CD2. I also note that from the CD2 amendments that were kept, and I was going to say where you can take from my district, I would give up monies to take from my district, from Makalapa and Salt Lake District Parks and neighborhood parks, because if we were to get the full 2.5 million of OTAT to then be rededicated back to funding for parks, because right now it's at $150,000, down from the original 2.5 divided by 9 would be like $277,000 to $278,000 per council district. $150,000 is lower than a lot of the per council district items, but that's where I would take from, as well as I've been saying the last committee meetings last week, how much HPD in each division has lapsed. I would have saved every single department to cut HPD's lapses every year. That's where I would have taken it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Just want to note that HPD lapsed $50,538,176 last year. Let me say that again. $50.5 million was lapsed. And we can only fill 120 of those positions a year, right? At best, 3 recruit classes at 40 people per class. That's 120 positions. And not all of them are going to survive recruit school, as we know. And I'm just saying, let's rededicate some of that money, not a lot, actually for HPD, $14,890,729 out of the $50.5 million, and using that to reduce the amount of money that people are paying for their sewer bill, right? Again, it's bold. It's never been done before. Typically, I don't think the council has had the guts to do something like that. And I'm asking you guys, step up. Make that bold decision. It's not easy. And again, this is the will of the council, right? Up to you guys. Councilmember Kiana hasn't spoken yet.
Chair.
Please proceed.
Chair, can I ask, is it appropriate for me to opine on the movement of the operating budget at this point in time, or do I need to wait until discussion purposes? And the reason I'm concerned, Chair, is that it's 2 o'clock and we are on item 21 of 63 items. And I know we're going to have a robust discussion on Bill 60. So it is my deep concern about just timing purposes on the consideration of the operating budget as well as Bill 60. I would like to entertain our postponing consideration of both this measure as well as Bill 60 at a time to be determined by the chair, perhaps tomorrow. And the reason being, we have 40 more items to get through today. And given that we didn't have an opportunity to digest fully everything that's in the FD1, after we finish all the bills today, we would at least have a couple of more hours for all of us to be able to more fully discuss this measure. And so that's because I'm hearing passionate advocacy on both fronts. This is the most important item for today. And I know Bill 60 is very, very important to all of us, as well as the general public. And so I just wanted to entertain that now because I'm just concerned about timing. We have 40 more items on the agenda to get through. And if we continue at this point, we're going to be going into the evening and we're not going to have an opportunity, members or our staff, to be able to fully digest and participate in this dialogue. So that's, I just wanted to bring that up at this juncture.
Council member, thank you. Council member Tupola, followed by Council member Dos Santos Tam.
Thank you, Chair. For full disclosure, I put forward my FD because in the past, most of us put forward our FDs and then yourself as chair kind of compile everything. So that was my intent. I'm not looking for us to vote on my FD. I just wanted those ideas out there so that either budget chair or you could take them under your wing and incorporate them. Secondly, I do think that the two discussions we're having with the budget and Bill 60 are important, but I also think that many people have waited for us to have this discussion right now and that we should have it. Because I think between your version and Tyler's version, it's not similar. So it's going to be pretty obvious. So I think we should just start debating the differences between the two. That's just my suggestion, because I think we could easily come out with the pros and cons. Me personally, cutting the revenue bonds is something I wouldn't be in favor of. And also there is a provision in Chair Dos Santos Tam's version that incorporates the verbiage of what we were talking about with Bill 36, so that would kind of resolve that. So I don't know if we just start working through a patchwork of what we're good with, what we're not, so that we can move forward. But I do think that it's diverse enough that we could possibly make it through. It's my suggestion that we battle through this, but up to you, Chair. Thank you.
I'm open to moving the debate on Bill 22 to the end of the calendar and then reassess at that time. I do think we should stick with Bill 60 to figure out what's going on. But Councilmember Dos Santos Tam, did you want to opine on whether or not we should postpone
Thank you.
or continue?
Yeah, I think that we're having a robust discussion, so I think continuing discussion would be valuable. I have a question for ENV if now is the appropriate time to call on other departments, unless
Yes.
people still have questions for BFS.
Yes, please. Let's continue.
Okay. I call on ENV. So one of the critical points that has been made in this discussion is centers on the merits or dismerits of transferring some amount of general funds into the sewer fund. We've heard over the course of the past few months how there are legal issues, but putting the legal issues aside, just on the pure merits of it, the chair's FD1 proposes transferring a $19 million infusion from general funds into the sewer fund. It reverses $3.97 million of how salaries are funded, so the net effect is something closer to $15 million. So my question is, right now, in your 6-year CIP plan, how much of that 6-year CIP plan is cash funded in total each year? And then correspondingly, how much is bond funded, roughly?
Yeah, so Roger Babcock, Department of Environmental Services, thanks you for that question, Council Member. Dos Santos Tam, sorry, I did not bring those numbers with me. But they've been submitted in prior presentations and testimony, and I apologize, I can get those, but I don't have them at hand.
No problem. Does the number $250 million per year of cash sound about right?
Yeah, that does sound about right.
That's what our office came up with. So the $15 million additional is 6% more. What correspondingly does that affect our sewer, the rates that ratepayers see?
Yeah,
does that 6% really make a substantial difference?
Right. So it should not impact the rate. Should not impact the rates at all.
And so, if the idea is that you have some amount of cash and some amount of bonds, is there an ability to carry out, and because you have discretion about carrying out which cash-funded projects versus bond-funded projects, can we achieve the same $15 million thing simply by delaying or changing the sequencing of certain projects?
Yeah, we do have some flexibility in terms of sequencing some projects. There are some projects where we have deadlines, and so we cannot do that modification. But we always can change the amount of cash that we use for CIP projects versus bond funding. So we do have a long-term model for the funding of the CIP program. It does involve using some cash and mostly bonds. But that is adjustable, and so we judiciously do that splitting of cash versus bond funding so as to try to moderate sewer fee increases as best as possible.
Okay, thank you. That's all my questions for ENV.
Thank you. Any follow-up questions for ENV? And we'll have ample time to talk about it during Bill 60, which I hope you stick around for. Okay, members, you want to continue and vote on the FDs, or you want to postpone this till the end of the calendar? Councilmember Cordero.
Hi, Chair. Chair, I would like to request that it be moved to the end of the calendar.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, members, you okay with moving to the end of the calendar? Any objections, reservations? Seeing none? Okay, so ordered. We put this at the very end of the calendar. Okay, members, let's put that page on the side. We're now on page 16. Page 16. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam.
Thank you, Chair. I move that Committee Report 185 be adopted and Bill 23 CD2 as amended pass third reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam for the explanation.
Chair, this relates to the Executive Capital Budget and Program for the fiscal year July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2026.
Thank you. Members, a budget floor draft summary has been submitted for consideration. Prior to accepting any motions to amend to a floor draft, I will ask Councilmember Dos Santos Tam to explain his proposed budget floor draft summary.
Thank you, Chair. My version makes the amendments listed at the end of my FD, specifically dealing with certain public facilities, DFM Kokeo Yard and Kapalama Hale Roof, both of which are in my district. Public safety for the police departments, restoring the bulk fund for the police department improvements, addressing the source of funds for affordable housing mixed-use developments under the human services category, and changing one of the provisos that Corporation Counsel advised us would not necessarily be legally sound.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have 3 registered testifiers. I believe only one of them is with us in the chamber.
Dudley Wasso. Please proceed.
Thank you, Natalie Wassa, for the record. So I'll just say the one thing first that's less important, but you have $1 million for Feral Cat Sanctuary on page 4. There are animal sanctuaries, nonprofits on the island. I encourage you, the city, to work with them rather than putting money of taxpayer money toward that effort. My big concern, however, is the floor draft that would take $30 million from the sewer bonds, 30.1 million, and put it to the sewer fund. And it's not really clear to me exactly what that intent is, because it seems like it's moving to using cash. And, you know, we just had a whole big discussion about bonds and trying to use cash to save money, but I point out again that this bill has $10 million in it for rail, and if that is truly your intent, if you truly want to save money on bonds, then put that $10 million for rail construction in the operating budget and take it out of CIP, and therefore you will save money on the interest on that funding and not have this huge debate, because I don't think anybody is going to oppose that move. So thank you for allowing me to go a bit over, and I'm just express again my concern about using general funds for sewer.
Appreciate that. Members, any questions for Natalie Wassa? Seeing none. Next we have Shelby Billionaire. I believe he is not here. Mr. Clerk, you said we had one other testifier?
Yes, Chair, we had Chun James is no longer logged on, and one person with their hand raised online.
Okay, please proceed.
Aloha, Tara Rojas. Yeah, same thing. Man, there's a lot to take in, and I know you're going to discuss it later, and that's one of the things I was going to say about changing the order, but wow. Regarding the cash and, you know, general fund versus the CIP and everything, I'm just thinking if what the previous testifier just said about the 10 million for rail and take that for the operating budget instead of the CIP, or what was that, the general funds for sewer, but if you take into account her suggestion, and I think I'll just save my other questions for when Bill 60 comes up, as well as rediscussing the budget, the operating budget. But yeah, maybe if you can consider and maybe have a little discussion about what she just suggested. Mahalo.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, is there anybody else who'd like to testify? Bill 23 CD2. Angela Melody Young.
Aloha, Angela Melody Young, testifying to vote yes for this executive capital budget and program bill. So with helping for improvements for the Blaisdell Center to get world-class entertainment acts to help boost the filmmaking, music, and entertainment and arts and broadcast and production industry is a really good appropriation of funds. I really appreciate the redirection of the new entertainment technology innovation committee to help film, and especially because some of the groups that I work with have Hawaiian filmmakers who are trying to support DHHL with economic development, and the funding for the cat sanctuary for trap and neuter programs is a critical lifeline to supporting the animal rescue industry. Humane Society didn't get the GIA this year from the state, so it's appropriate for the county to have provisions. Humane Society sustains many districts' operations and is a primary organizer, helping with connectivity of resources and management of animal rescue. So it's been a really interesting process getting to know the internal functions and what funds to activate for what purposes for the necessary infrastructure development projects. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any other testifiers?
That concludes the testifiers.
Thank you. Is there a motion to amend? Councilmember Dos Santos
Yes.
Tam.
Chair, I move that the bill be amended to my proposed FD1 identified as OCS 2025-0461 listed on the agenda.
Is there a second? No second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, any objections or reservations to amend the hand-carried FD1? Noted no objections or reservations, Bill 23 CD2 has been amended to the hand-carried FD1. Any objections or reservations to waiving Council Rule 19G, the 48-hour notice? It's posted? Okay. Thank you. So ordered. It's been amended. Now we're in discussion on the FD. Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk. Roll call on the FD, correct. No, he filed his on time.
It's OCS 2025-0461/528, 2025, 1:09 p.m.
Brief recess. Okay, good afternoon, members. It's now 2:50 p.m. We're still waiting on the actual hard copy of Councilmember Dos Santos Tam's FD before we could vote on it. What I'm suggesting we do, members, let's skip the third reading items and start on page 20, the resolutions. I think there's a lot of matters that we can take care of, and then let's come back to third reading items. Is that okay? All right, so we're on page 20. From the Committee on Budget, Councilmember Dos Santos Tam.
Chair, I move that Committee Report 199 and Resolution 25-136 be adopted. This relates to the transfer of funds.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam for the explanation.
Yep, this relates to transfer of funds.
Okay, for Honolulu Emergency Services Department. Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you, members. We're in discussion. Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR 199 and Resolution 25-136 has been adopted. Moving to the bottom of page 20, Councilmember Dos Santos Tam.
Chair, I move that Committee Report 200 and Resolution 25-137 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam for the explanation.
Chair, this approves collective bargaining cost items for employees of the City and County of Honolulu and bargaining units 1 and 10. That's the UPW.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you, members. We're in discussion. Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR 200 and Resolution 25-137 has been adopted. Moving to the top of page 21, Councilmember Dos Santos Tam.
Chair, I move that Committee Report 201 and Resolution 25-138 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam for the explanation.
This approves collective bargaining cost items for employees of the City and County of Honolulu and bargaining units 2, 3, 4, and 13 for the Hawaii Government Employees Association.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR 201 and Resolution 25-138 has been adopted. Moving to the bottom of page 21, Councilmember Dos Santos Tam.
Chair, I move that Committee Report 202 and Resolution 25-146 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam for the explanation.
Chair, this relates to the transfer of funds for the Honolulu Police Department.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. We're in discussion. Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you so much, Chair. Please note my reservations. I'd like to note those reservations because this is being submitted with very few weeks left in the year. The quantity is 13.5 million. I understand the urgency, especially in light of the nearly 50 million that lapsed last year. I recognize HPD's intent to avoid that happening, as we discussed in committee. But according to HPD's response, the shortfall stems from necessary overtime to maintain patrol staffing and ongoing vacancies, officer leave, and major events. I appreciate that reducing patrol presence wasn't seen as a viable option for public safety. I support our officers for stepping up to meet public safety needs, but the timing is concerning. Realistically, can any department spend $13 million in 27 days? That feels like a stretch. Still, if we don't approve the transfer, the funds will lapse. Approving it gives HPD the opportunity to use what they can, especially if it's going truly towards payroll, and if not, unspent funds will return. With that being said, I believe this process must improve. I support public safety, but going forward, let's have some better planning, earlier notice, and more accountability. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you, Chair. I voted no in the Budget Committee. I do support this because it does go to the salaries for patrol. However, I echoed a lot of the concerns that Councilmember Tupola raised, but especially the concerns that I raised in committee. We know that this lapse from last year came from the staffing pool that they set up every single year. It shows me the different array of funding that they had to move last year as well, which was to the tune of about 18 to $28 million. And so I just want to ensure that when we are supporting their staffing and recruitment pool, as well as ensuring that they are taking into consideration the different efforts that the council has suggested to HPD, which includes the provision for recruitment and retainment. We have great recruitment officers out there working every single day, but the money needs to remain where a lot of the funding will support the actual officers, beat officers. So I'll also go with reservations. I was debating whether to go no, but I know this is important, but yes, just with deep reservations.
Thank you. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam.
Chair, I was wondering if it would be appropriate at this time to call up HPD just for a little clarification on this.
Yeah, please proceed.
So I originally voted WR on this. I didn't feel that we had adequate information on a number of the transfers. Since the Budget Committee hearing last week, I've learned that the BFS quarterly report showed that the patrol activity had over $50 million in unallotted funds as of March 31st, 2025. And given that they had $50 million in unallotted funds, we're now requesting $13.5 million to be be transferred to patrol. So that would be $63.5 million that they would be spending between March 31st and June 30th. Can someone from HPD just explain why patrol had so much in unallotted funds as of the end of the last quarter, and why, just succinctly and for clarity, and so we all understand why this transfer is needed right now if there's still money in the patrol activity?
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair. My name is Ryan Hironaka, I'm Major of the Finance Division. Also, good afternoon to the members of the council. So to answer that question, this is not really a spend down, so to speak. It was based on a projection of how much there was going to be a deficit in the fourth quarter of patrol. So in the previous quarters of patrol, there's a, for the total amount for the year, which is $184 million for the entire patrol activity, it's split 4 ways to each quarter. Within there, it's broken down into the salaries, you know, different things like overtime, holiday overtime, and whatnot. So in the allotment for the quarters, like let's say for the first quarter, it was $4.5 million. The spending in the overtime actually exceeded that by a little over $2 million. So in the first quarter, patrol actually went red. And so because it was already in the negative, in order to balance the first quarter, what we do within the same activity is we move funds from the fourth quarter to balance the first quarter. So we're allowed to do that internally. So as we move to the second quarter, same thing, because of the patrol staffing needs, especially in the second quarter, we had the haiku stair security and we had the D8 saturation. So those are examples why the overtime was so high. So once again, we went negative in the second quarter. And once again, we pull funds from the fourth quarter to balance the second quarter. And the same thing happens in the third quarter, where to maintain staffing, patrol staffing levels, we went negative in the third quarter and we move funds again from the fourth quarter. So when we get to the fourth quarter, we're already at a deficit. Because we only based our projection of how much money needed to be moved based on one pay period, then the projection was about $11 million or so. That's why we asked for the $13 million. But since that time has come and we were asked for clarification, that figure has actually gone down to approximately $7 million for the rest of the year. $7.5 million that we're going to be in the red. So if the funds are moved, it's basically going to offset that deficit that's already there. It's not like we're going to try and spend down the entire $13 million.
Okay, so just to clarify, so if there's $184 million allocated to patrol, that's $46 million a quarter. At the end of the first quarter of this calendar year, March 31st, there are over $50 million. There's more sitting there at the end of that quarter than there should be for the remaining quarter, and yet we still need an additional $13.5 million on top of that. I really just want to get clarity about why HPD, among all the departments, has so many transfers. There's been 4 thus far this year, and why the amounts are so big compared to all the other departments.
Well, the allotment was $42 million. So the amount actually spent with overtime and everything actually went above, and that's what caused the deficit. I'm not sure where the $50 million figure is coming from for the quarter, but I'm sorry, what was the second part of the question?
No, that's fine. I guess I just want to get clarity for future reference why, you know, we continue to have these. So if last year we allocated $184 million for patrol and we still need to transfer money in, for this year's, for the upcoming fiscal year, is HPD asking for the correct amount, which would be 184 plus 13.5 million, probably plus a little bit more, because you're going to be very successful in recruitment and retention?
You mean for fiscal year 26?
For FY 26, yes.
That's to be determined during the budget building process.
Yeah. But what was your original request for patrol?
I do not recall that right now. But I do know with the aspects of the amounts being reduced in the Bill 22, that will affect the total allotments. So with one of the, I think, Chair Wyer's FD1, the amount was 14 million something, but there was $8 million reduced from patrol. So if that $8 million is reduced from fiscal year 26, then it will have a causative effect that, as you see from this year's budget, it's potential we're going to have a shortfall again because we're not going to compromise public safety and reduce the patrol levels. So we did lapse $50 million in 2024, or more like 48.5. I'm not going to dispute that. But when taking into consideration what our amounts are, projections this year, it's significantly lower. So the reductions will have an effect.
Okay, thank you.
Just a follow-up. You lapsed $14,950,378 from patrol in 2024. Can you explain that?
That is correct. That is something I mentioned in the budget committee, and that's because normally there's funds that are pooled into the recruit training pool, and they're taken kind of from like all the different activities, and that is what is used to fund the recruits once they graduate in FTEP, Fourth Watch, and that recruit training pool was not created. So those funds were all in their respective activities instead. That's why we had to move funds last year to put into it so we could pay the recruits. But all that money that normally would go into the administrative services activity were all left where they were normally taken from. That's why normally, I know we get questions about that the administrative services activity lapses a lot of salary funds. That's all due to the recruits that we did not hire. In 2024, the administrative service activity was lower because it was all distributed among the different activities, and that includes patrol.
But wouldn't it have been cleaner, instead of asking for money from patrol, actually ask us for money to fund this recruit activity that you're talking about? Just so that it's all transparent, everybody knows what's going on, rather than moving funds around. Which, by the way, part of what I'm suggesting is that you have that ability to move money around. It's baked into our FD.
No, I understand. So, you know, even with the potential reductions in Bill 22, we understand that to maintain patrol and whatnot, we're going to have to move through the activities. But we're going to make it work with what we are provided. But there's a chance we're going to have to do these resolutions in the future.
May I ask what your estimate for overtime is going to be in the upcoming fiscal year? Based on now, what is it, Councilmember Tupola, 485 vacancies?
I cannot provide those numbers right now.
But can you use the money that you save from the 485 vacancies and use it for these other priorities that HPD has? Because like I mentioned earlier, I think during the budget process, the HPD said, even on our best year, you're only going to fill 120 uniformed
Correct.
police officers. So what happens to the rest of that money?
So because we have the shortages, we're using those cost savings as overtime.
Right.
And obviously, because of the patrol staffing levels, there's not enough that's allocated in the quarter for the patrol activity. But our administration, recognizing it's going to go red, will continue to staff the patrol, and knowing that eventually in the fourth quarter, like we're doing now, we're going to have to move funds from salaries from other activities where there's vacant positions to fund patrol.
But we know that you have 485 vacancies. We know that you're going to have to do overtime if you want to keep the staffing levels up to what you say we need. Why can't we just budget from that in the beginning? And
Yes,
maybe
that's
take
something-
some money from the vacancy account, because you're only going to be able to fill 120 positions a year.
I understand. That's something that's in the allocation process at the beginning of the fiscal year.
To me, it's just cleaner, right? We know we need overtime. Let's take the money that we're not going to spend, go put it in overtime. Just a
I
thought.
understand, but there's also a mindset that when it comes to public safety and there's actual needs, we're not going to be constrained by a dollar amount. We're going to do the staffing that it takes, and it might cost a little bit more than what's allotted.
No, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying we're going to fund it. You just let us know how much you need for overtime. And since you're not going to use all the vacant positions, let's take the money from there, which is kind of what we're doing today. Anyway, thank you. Councilmember Tupola.
Thanks so much, Chair. Aloha, thank you for being here. I did receive a letter from HPD when I inquired about this. So if I could please reiterate what was written here, and you did say it, but just for clarification, you guys are requesting $13.5 million because it includes a prudent cushion to address any unforeseen increases in overtime requirement. But at the time, you guys had estimated it would be $11.4 million. And then the letter says that updated projections incorporating payroll data from April 15th, April 30th, May 15th, and May 30th now estimate that it's going to be a $7.5 million shortfall. So this letter was given to me from a former chief of police, and I'm guessing maybe your division wrote it. My question is, I believe what everyone is asking for is accuracy. I see that is listed in here, extra patrol for Waianae. It says the Kamehameha Parade. It says festivals. So obviously there's some cushion, right, that you guys might need extra money. We get that. And I would say that a few years ago, we actually funded patrol. We funded just patrol. And unfortunately, and I'm not going to go into the details, there were majors that were prohibited from using the overtime. So I don't know how it works, but I know you're in the finance division. All I'm asking is, do you think that it would be more prudent for us to do a friendly amendment of $8.5 million instead of $13.5? We need to have some type of accounting. We're going back and forth on numbers that are very different. Going from 13.5 as a nice cushion to we just needed 11.4 to, oh, sorry, by the way, it's just 7. This is why the budget's all out of whack. So could I ask if HPD would be open to a friendly amendment? Because we only have so many days left, right, in this fiscal calendar, and then we jump into a new one. Would you guys be in favor of a friendly amendment of 8.5 million?
Yes, we would, because as mentioned, it was based, the higher number was based on a one projection or one pay period. Now that we have an accurate projection, if we could obtain that accuracy earlier, we would have put in a lower amount to transfer.
That's reasonable. I appreciate your transparency there. Chair, I'm going to make a motion to do a friendly amendment to change the number to 8.5 based on the most recent letter that I received from them and his confirmation on May 30th that they don't need the 13.5, that 8.5 would be a sufficient cushion because they're projecting that the lapse or the money that they need would be 7.5 million. So just putting out there. Thank you, Chair.
No, thank you. If we do that, let me inquire with OCS. Do we have to do the same thing that we just did with Bill 23, where we need to have it in writing? Office of Council Services? Would you like to put this at the end of the calendar? We got to get it drafted up.
Chair, I move that we move this to the end of the calendar.
Okay.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any objections or reservations? Seeing none, let's move Resolution 25-146 to the end of the calendar. Okay, moving on to page 22. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam.
Chair, I move that Committee Report 203 and Resolution 25-150 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam for the explanation.
Chair, this authorizes the Director of Budget and Fiscal Services to issue and sell in one or more series not to exceed $11 million principal amount of general obligation bonds of the City and County of Honolulu for financing the amount appropriated in Ordinance Number 25-blank, also referred to upon its approval as Bill 23 of 2025, and as may be further amended, of the City and County of Honolulu for the purpose of financing capital costs of the Honolulu Rail Transit Project.
Thank you so much. Actually, Council Services, do we have to move this to the end of the calendar since we haven't passed Bill 23? We can? Okay. Okay. Also, the Council of Services says no problem us passing this before Bill 23. So it's been moved and seconded and explained. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members are in discussion. Oh, Nelly Wasa, please proceed.
Thank you, Natalie Wassa, for the record. Just some comments. So we had this whole discussion about using cash in place of sewer bonds. This is the same idea here. Now you have a potential of saving the interest on $10 million. And I'm not saying that I would support that, but if that is truly your intent, if you truly want to save interest costs, then why aren't you moving this $10 million into the operating budget? And this, by doing that, you would benefit all of Oahu taxpayers, not just people who are paying the sewer fund. And there are quite a few people who don't pay sewer funds. So those are my comments. I think it's just a bit hypocritical not to look at this. Thank you.
Thank you. So are you advocating then to use the vacancy savings that I outlined, 27 million, and using 11 of it to pay this?
No, I don't support this either. I'm just saying that if that's what your intent is, then that's what you should be doing. Because I don't think you would get as much pushback by using 10 million versus the 19 million that you have already in the CD for Bill 22, or the FD.
Okay. Budget and Fiscal Services Director, do you have an objection to the Natalie Iwasa amendment? Using $11 million from vacancy savings to pay this bond instead of the sewer bond.
So I'm going to restate the question. The question is
using cash for the 11 million here instead of
taking 11 million in general fund cash and using it for skin in the game with regard to, I don't agree with that.
Okay.
I don't agree with
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah.
Any further discussion, members? Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia-ina?
Aye.
Councilmember Nishimoto? Councilmember Okimoto?
Aye.
Councilmember Talba? Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR-203 and Resolution 25-150 has been adopted. Moving to the bottom of page 22, Councilmember Dos Santos Tam.
Chair, I move that Committee Report 204 and Resolution 25-151 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam for the explanation.
Chair, this authorizes the Director of Budget and Fiscal Services to issue and sell in one or more series not to exceed $725 million principal amount of general obligation bonds of the City and County of Honolulu for financing the amounts appropriated in certain capital budget ordinances of the City and County of Honolulu specified in such capital budget ordinances.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do you have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members are in discussion. Councilmember Okimoto,
Thank you, Chair. I had a question for Director Kawano.
please proceed.
Aloha, Director. Really quick question. With this measure, how will this impact our debt ratio? What kind of increase are we looking at, if any, percentage-wise?
Percentage-wise, I can't calculate it off the top of my head because I think it's going to be really small once everything's settled because the $725 million is broken down into $100 million of new money and $625 million for refunding. So when you refund bonds, you don't increase the outstanding principal. And we only refund bonds, as I testified earlier, to reduce debt service over the life of the bonds, over the repayment terms. And the last time our underwriter calculated the benefit to the city over 25 years, it was in excess of $30 million. So $30 million in lower debt service. So I would add $100 million to our current bond outstanding and do the calculation. And our typical calculation is our debt service as a % to our operating budget. And so that's why I think $100 million more on the amount of bonds we have outstanding is not going to be significant in terms of the percentage.
Thank you so much, Director. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any follow-up questions for Budget and Fiscal Services? Seeing none. Any further discussion, members? Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia-ina?
Aye.
Councilmember Nishimoto, Councilmember Okimoto,
Aye.
Councilmember Talba, Councilmember Tupola,
Aye.
Councilmember Wire,
Aye.
Chair Waters.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR 204 and Resolution 25-151 has been adopted. Moving to the top of page 23, Councilmember Dos Santos Tam.
Chair, I move that Committee Report 205 and Resolution 25-156 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam for the explanation.
Chair, this relates to real property tax compromises.
Thank you very much. Do we have any testifiers? Kavika Riley, I believe, from Kupu.
Yes.
Aloha Chair, committee members, Kavika Riley, Vice President at Kupu. Here to answer any questions that you may have about the measure. Just wanted to thank the Budget Committee and Chair Dos Santos Tam for approving the measure most recently, and we appreciate Director Kawano for his support.
Thank you, members. Any questions for the testifier? I got one real quick. How much money does Kupu pay in rent for the use of the city property?
It is currently $1 a year, Chair.
$1 a year. I do note on your website you charge $5,000 a night to rent out your facility. What kind of revenue are you generating?
The revenue goes to pay for a portion of the services that we provide for our GED program and our alternative learning organization partnership with the Honolulu District.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate
Thank you,
that.
Chair.
Members, any follow-up questions? Seeing none. Any further discussion? Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR 205 and Resolution 25-156 has been adopted. Moving to the bottom of page 23, Councilmember Dos Santos Tam.
Chair, I move that Committee Report 206 and Resolution 25-159 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam for the explanation.
Chair, this relates to the transfer of funds for HPD.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have no registered testifiers. There's one person with their hand raised, but I'm not certain if it's for this measure.
Okay. Ms. Rojas, are you testifying on Resolution 25-159?
Aloha, I just wanted to come on and just remind you to check for the Zoom because for the past like 3 ones, I've been wanting to testify. So just to remind you, and if this this one is for the HPD and it's similar to the previous discussions about the budgeting, then I would say, yeah, that to re-look at this when we get to the other items. But again, just to kind of check and make sure that us Zoom testifiers as well are called upon. Mahalo.
Thank you. Any other testifiers, Mr. Clerk?
That concludes the testifiers.
Thank you. Members who are in discussion? Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR 206 and Resolution 25-159 has been adopted. Moving to the top of page 24 from the Committee on Parks, Councilmember Tupola.
I move that CR 207 and Resolution 25116 be adopted.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Tupola for the explanation.
Accepting a gift of 1 high-back traditional bench preparation of the grounds and bronze plaque with an inscription to read, donated by the family and friends of Gary Kent Anderson, valued at $2,521.67 to the city from Stephanie Deegan to be placed at Manoa Valley District Park.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR 207 and Resolution 25-116 has been adopted. Councilmember Tupola.
I move that CR 208 and Resolution 25117 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Tupola for the explanation.
Accepting a gift of one high-back traditional bench, preparation of the grounds, and a bronze plaque with an inscription to read, donated by the family of William Billy Gilman, valued at $2,521.67 from Samantha Mose, to be placed at Waialae Beach Park.
Thank you. Any testifiers, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none. Any objections or reservations? Noting none. CR 208 and Resolution 25-117 has been adopted. Councilmember Tupola.
I move that CR 209 and Resolution 25-132 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Tupola for the explanation.
Renaming the Pu'uloa Neighborhood Baseball Field at Pu'uloa Neighborhood Park to the Peter Wokan Jr. Baseball Field.
Thank you. Any testifiers, Mr. Clerk? Angela Melody Young, please proceed.
Aloha, Angela Melody Young, testifying on behalf of CARES. Voting yes for this resolution because I think it came from Senator Favela. So I don't go out much, but when I do, I like to go out to the ʻEwa Beach District. I'm trying to strike a chord with the ʻEwa Beach community. They're not like us in town. They've got a very rural ag land in the ʻEwa Beach community. I love the farms there. Majority of the time when I go out to support the West Side communities for the schools and the students like ʻElima and James Campbell School, it's really to help perpetuate the fun activities for them. So I think baseball can really help with some of their exercise and training and just managing some of the emotions that might come up if they don't have exercise and healthy extracurricular after-school program activities. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do you have any other testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members are in discussion. Seeing none, any objections or reservations?
Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry. Councilmember Tolba, followed by Tupola.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say mahalo on behalf of the family of the late Peter Wokan. His dedication to the Pu'uloa neighborhood baseball field, he's just an example of, everyday people that go above and beyond to not only, take care of our neighborhood park, but like really invest in the care and, the support of the kids in the neighborhood. So I just wanted to say thank you on behalf of the family.
Thank you. Councilmember Tupola.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Councilmember Tolba as well as Senator Favela, who came to testify in committee. We're very grateful for both of their leadership in ʻEwa Beach. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR 209 and Resolution 25-132 has been adopted. Councilmember Tupola.
I move that CR 210 and Resolution 25-147 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Tupola for the explanation.
Accepting a gift of 8 Spectrum dual accelerator platforms valued at $67,224.85 to the city from Manoa Aquatics for the Harry M. Mamizuka Swimming Complex at Manoa District Park.
Thank you. I note that Brooke Mamizuka has signed up to testify. Mr. Clerk, is Ms. Mamizuka available?
Mr. Chair, the testifier is not logged on.
Okay, is there anybody else who'd like to testify? Seeing none, any discussion? Councilmember Tupola.
Yes, I was able to speak with Brooke Mamizuka briefly prior to us taking up this resolution. She came on behalf of her family. The gentleman that the pool is named after, Harry M. Mamizuka, is her father, and he is actually the brother to our Warren Mamizuka's grandfather. So I just wanted to thank their family because they have been making these personal investments in carrying on his legacy, which she mentioned was to help the children and make sure that they were active in aquatics and in after-school programs. I also want to thank DPR. I do believe that through quite a few different improvements that the pool has been getting better, but this is going to be a significant help, and we just really want to thank them. This is a large donation from the family, and we are grateful for all the families that extend themselves for our parks. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting none, CR 210 and Resolution 25-147 has been adopted. Moving to the top of page 26, Councilmember Tupola.
I move that CR 211 and Resolution 25-148 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Tupola for the explanation.
Accepting a gift of playground equipment and installation for the replacement of the vandalized playground equipment at Wahiawa District Park, valued at $52,500 from Inspired Play Hawaii.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting none. CR-211 and Resolution 25-148 has been adopted. Councilmember Tupola.
I move that CR-212 and Resolution 25-149 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Tupola for the explanation.
Renaming Waianae District Park to the Shinye Nakamine and 100th Infantry Battalion Memorial Park.
Thank you. Is there a motion to amend? Councilmember Tupola.
I move to amend Resolution 25-149 to the posted FD1.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Tupola for the explanation of the amendment.
The FD makes the amendment set forth in the written summary as posted on the agenda.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we had one registered testifiers, but I believe he's no longer in the chamber.
Okay. I believe that was Shelby Billionaire. Looks like we have Angela Melody Young.
Aloha, Angela Melody Young testifying on behalf of CARES, voting yes for this resolution. My grandmother lived through the Cultural Revolution in the communist era. The Republic of China nowadays is not as much of a dictatorship like the prior generation, that I can really appreciate all those who have fought for the freedom and liberty and happiness of our modern world. And so I will be supporting Shinye Nakamine because this is about the United States Army and soldiers, and amending the name to the 100th Infantry Battalion Memorial Park. And yes, there will also be a live film production to honor all those who have fought for our freedom in this generation. It will be a live film production at Pearl Harbor, and it's an open invite.
Thank you. Any other testifiers, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, Chair, we have one person online.
Please proceed.
Aloha, Sarah Rojas. I just had a quick question, and maybe this is for the representative or the council member, Kalamai, for that district. Have you heard any, discussion or maybe like opposition to changing Waianae District Park to the name proposed right now? And mind you, with all due respect and humility and gratefulness for those who have fought for freedom, but just wondering with the district and changing the name from Waianae District Park to what is being proposed. Have you heard any discussion within the community? I guess this is for Tupola. Mahalo.
I guess we can come to that when we are in the discussion phase. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Ms. Rojas. Seeing none, thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any other testifiers?
Mr. Chair, that concludes the testifiers.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you so much, Chair. There is a plaque that honors Shinye Nakamine right now at the basketball court at Waianae District Park. But the community came forward, gave this suggestion, Philip Ganaban, Uncle Glenn Keela, many people who are related to Shinye Nakamine, and I want to share more about his story. Today we consider Resolution 25-149 to rename the district park as the Shinye Nakamine and 100th Infantry Battalion Memorial Park. Private Shinye Nakamine was born and raised in Waianae. He gave his life in service during World War II and was awarded the Medal of Honor for his courage. His sister, Anita Koyanagi, came to our Parks Committee hearing, over 90 years old, and she shared how before he was a hero, he was a brother to her. The 100th Infantry Battalion, made up of second-generation Japanese Americans like Shinye, stood for something bigger than themselves. They served with honor, even when their own country questioned their loyalty. I want to quote Kimie Koyanagi Kepo'o Shinye's grandniece from the Parks Committee. She said, "We need good role models now more than ever. Our roots are what ground us, and we need to water them." She's right. These stories that shape identity and pride in place will help our youth to see them, feel them, and grow from them. Renaming this park is a small but powerful gesture to show that Waianae remembers and that we continue to honor people who came before us, not only with flowers and ceremonies, but in the places we live, play, and gather every day. To the Nakamine Ohana, to our veterans, and to the community members who help carry this forward, mahalo for your stories and your advocacy. It lives on. I humbly ask for the council's support to pass Resolution 25-149. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Seeing none, any objections or reservations to the motion to amend? Seeing none, Resolution 25-149 has been amended to the posted FD1. Any further discussion? Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR-212 and Resolution 25-149 FD1 has been adopted. Turning to the top of page 27 from the Committee on International and Legal Affairs, Councilmember Nishimoto.
I move that the committee report 215 and resolution 25-64 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Nishimoto for the explanation.
This is to retain legal services.
Thank you. Any testifiers, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR-215 and Resolution 25-164 has been adopted. Councilmember Nishimoto.
Thank you. I move that committee report 216 and resolution 25-165 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Nishimoto for the explanation.
It's to retain legal services.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Actually, we have
Sorry, we have-
one, Nali Wasa. Please proceed.
Thank you, Natalie Wassa, for the record. Just a comment. So this resolution is regarding that gentleman who was falsely identified and spent, I believe, a couple, 2-3 years in prison. So first of all, the 50,000 I think is really high, but the thing I wanted to ask for is this legal firm, one of the partners is, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, Shari Khan Harara, and that is a similar name to Daryl Khan. So I think it should be clarified that, you know, whether there's any kind of familial relationship there. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, any further testimony, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you, members. We're in discussion. Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR-216 and Resolution 25-165 has been adopted. Moving to the top of page 28 from the Committee on Zoning, Councilmember Kia Aina.
I move that committee report 223 and resolution 25-68 CD1 as amended be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Kia Aina for the explanation.
Granting a special management area major permit to allow for the construction of a new single-unit dwelling after the fact posting of an existing mobile single-unit dwelling, installation of an individual wastewater system, and construction of perimeter fencing and gates in Pupukea, Paumalu, Oahu.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
Aye.
Councilmember Nishimoto? Councilmember Okimoto?
Aye.
Councilmember Talba? Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR-223 and Resolution 25-68 CD1 has been adopted. Councilmember Kia Aina.
I move that committee report 226 and resolution 25-120 CD1 as amended be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Kia Aina for the explanation.
This resolution grants a special management area major permit to allow for alterations and additions to an existing single-unit dwelling, including a new attached garage, front gate, and shade structure, replacement of an existing driveway, relocation of an existing swimming pool decommission of existing sand volleyball court and landscaping improvements in Kailua.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Any discussion, members? Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia-Aina?
Aye.
Councilmember Nishimoto? Councilmember Okimoto?
Aye.
Councilmember Tauba? Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR-226 and Resolution 25-120, CD1, has been adopted. Moving to the top of page 29, Councilmember Kia-Aina.
I move that Committee Report 227 and Resolution 25-144 CD1 as amended be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Kia-Aina for the explanation.
This resolution grants a special management area major permit to allow for the demolition of an existing single-unit dwelling and the construction of a new single-unit dwelling with an attached garage and swimming pool in Laie, Oahu.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia-Aina?
Aye.
Councilmember Nishimoto? Councilmember Okimoto?
Aye.
Councilmember Tauba? Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR-227 and Resolution 25-144, CD1, has been adopted. Moving to the bottom of page 29, from the Committee on Public Safety and Customer Services, Councilmember Okimoto.
Chair, I move that Committee Report 231 and Resolution 25-128 CD1 as amended be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Okimoto for the explanation.
Authorizing the use of overt video monitoring in the City and County of Honolulu in city parks and city park and rides.
Thank you. Is there a motion to amend? Councilmember Cordero.
I move that Resolution 25-128 CD1 be amended to the posted FD1.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Cordero for the explanation of the amendment.
Thank you, Chair. This makes amendments set forth in a written summary as posted on the agenda, but basically restates that the overt video monitoring devices must not face private property. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do you have any testifiers? Natalie Wassa.
Yes. Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry. Please proceed.
Thank you, Natalie Wassa. You know I oppose this. But, I think there's a segment of our population that is particularly sensitive to video monitoring, and that is the immigrants and legal nationals here, especially given the ICE actions. So, we need to be cognizant of that. And I had asked at one point, actually a couple times, what is the impact when you put cameras in one location? It seems logical to me that crime is going to move right around the corner where the cameras are not visible. So how does the placement of the cameras in these certain areas impact crime in the neighboring areas? If you can answer that at some point, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further? Oh, I actually have 2 more people registered to testify. Austin Salcido and Gina Salcido. Is Austin Salcido available?
Mr. Chair, the testifiers logged on but not responding.
How about Gina Salcido?
Mr. Chair, Ms. Salcido is not logged on.
Okay, is there anybody else who'd like to testify? Seeing none. Members, we're in discussion. Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you so much. I do want to thank Councilmember Cordero, and especially for the CD, trying to address privacy and citizens' concerns. Our parks are some of the happiest places for our communities to gather. However, many of our parks have been impacted by ongoing safety concerns, including vandalism, drug use, and sometimes violent crime. Without consistent law enforcement presence, largely due to ongoing HPD shortages, our communities are left vulnerable. There was a day back almost 8 years ago that we had a beach task force, and actually North Shore had one too, and those have been done away with. And those used to keep our parks safe, and we had officers ongoingly in there, but we don't have that today. So with the overt monitoring, when we use this responsibly and with the right safeguards, we can deter crime and support our enforcement efforts and restore a sense of safety in high-risk areas. We want our families to gather at our parks. We want it to be safe. I know that we only have one so far that's, I think, launching in your district. I did a resolution to try to have one in mind, but this resolution is very all-encompassing, very inclusive, allowing HPD to pursue these pilots and then see where else it can be useful. So I thank Assistant Chief Lynch for coming to our committee hearing, testifying in support, and of course, keeping us updated on how the current pilot is going. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you, Chair. I do want to say mahalo to Assistant Chief Lynch, who has been very accompanying in sharing information, but allowing us to know the different constraints that may occur. With that, I did want to be inclusive with all of my colleagues because these types of occurrences don't just happen within my district. I want to be able to rely on our community to be not only the eyes, ears, nose, and everything else for not just our community, but HPD, and this will assist, especially when things happen after hours. And I'm not looking for complete monitoring. I'm just looking to assist when staff and community are not around in the parks. So I really want to mahalo my community. It was based off of the numerous discussions at the neighborhood boards and considerations from them as well. So I want to mahalo the communities from Aiea, Salt Lake, Moanalua, and Kalihi and Kupalama. So thank you, mahalo.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, any objections or reservations to the amendment? Noting no objections or reservations, Resolution 25-128 CD1 has been amended to the posted FD1. Any further discussion? Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR231 and Resolution 25-128 CD1 FD1 has been adopted. Turning to the top of page 30, Councilmember Okimoto.
Thank you, Chair. I move the Committee Report 232 and Resolution 25-143 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Okimoto for the explanation.
Accepting a gift of $35,000 to the city from the Waikiki Transportation Management Association Special Improvement District for the Honolulu Police Department, District 6, to address illegal activities in Waikiki.
Thank you. I note that we have Natalie Wasa signed up to testify.
Thank you, Natalie Wasa. For the record, I oppose this. I've consistently opposed these gifts. This is tantamount to having the Waikiki area purchase police services, and that particular opportunity may not be available to other neighborhoods, and in fact may be near impossible for other areas to do. It's simply not right. And you know, if they donated it and just said, you guys use it wherever you feel the need is greatest, that would be wonderful. But as it is in one particular area, I oppose it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, any other testifiers?
Mr. Chair, that concludes the testifiers.
Thank you. Members who are in discussion. Councilmember Tupola.
Briefly, I want to speak in support. I know that it's your district chair, but I did want to say that there are many of us that are trying to work on special improvement districts. We would love for our businesses to invest in the community. I think for a lot of them, the safety that we provide is the safety that keeps them in business. It keeps them safe. It keeps them being able to sustain their families living here in Hawaii. So I know for right now, you guys are highly organized in Waikiki and have been doing it for a while, but I do think the model is sound, and I love even in my community when people invest, because there's a huge amount of ownership for people to start to help out and take care of what's around them. So good on you guys, and of course continuing to support businesses helping the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR232 and Resolution 25-143 has been adopted. Councilmember Okimoto.
Chair, I move the Committee Report 233 and Resolution 25-157 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Okimoto for the explanation.
Accepting a gift of travel and related expenses valued at $1,642.99 to the city from the Incident Management Teams Association for the Director of the Department of Emergency Management to attend the IMTA Strategic Management Meeting in Columbia, South Carolina from June 21st to 22nd, 2025.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none, but there's one person online that has his hand raised, but I believe it was for a previous measure.
Okay, please proceed, Ms. Salcido. Aloha, welcome. Austin Salcido, sorry, please proceed.
No, I'm sorry. Can you hear me? Can you folks hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. You know, this is Mrs. Salcedo, Calais Salcedo. You know, about the bill, you know, I'm just trying to get back to the bill of 128. I strongly agree with that bill, but I'm asking with amendments and to add part of the undeveloped part at Cal Beach Park in Makaha. The reason is I really like the idea of cameras, and people cannot say it is a private invasion of privacy. When you're in public park and you're doing a no-nos in public park, that's the only way the city can catch them, is with the cameras. And a lot of my residents have been trying to log on. They've been having issues. So I would love to ask you, Chair, if you folks could double check on your folks' system, because they've been getting kicked out. I've been getting kicked out since 10 this morning, and I'm not very happy in how the city website is running right now. Are we lack of funds for that too? You know, so that's all I have to say. But I would love to have amendments at Cal Beach Park in Makaha to deter sex trafficking, bad behavior, drug dealing, you name it, we got it out there. And we do not have the assistance that we definitely deserve as taxpayers. And my kupuna share the same fence line as the city park. And how many others shares the same fence line? So I really like that idea of having a camera for safety issues, because when it comes to camping times, they do have illegal fireworks on park grounds. We need the city to stop aiding and abetting, allowing violators to continue violating the law, and to continue helping us, community that lives around the parks. We have a right for a well-being safety, and we're not being safe when the aiding and abetting is being allowed. So, and the camera should go on the highest telephone pole so the wires do not get cut, and the solar panels do not get stolen. You got a lot of unethical behaviors that will take whatever it takes just to make a dime. Mahalo, and thank you for allowing me to testify.
Thank you, Ms. Salcido. Apologize if the system's been glitchy today. I'll keep an eye out for that, as well as if you raise your hand again.
Mahalo.
Thank you. Any further testimony, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Chair, that concludes the testifiers.
Thank you. Members are in discussion. Councilmember Tupola.
I did want to say in the original that we did leave out Kea'au Beach Park, but in the resolution 25-128 CD1 FD1, Kea'au Beach Park has been added to the resolution. Thank you so much, Auntie Kalea and Uncle Austin, for all your advocacy. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR-233 and Resolution 25-157 has been adopted. Moving to the top of page 31, Councilmember Okimoto.
Chair, I move the Committee Report 234 and Resolution 25-160 CD1 as amended be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Okimoto for the explanation.
Establishing a task force to address Honolulu Police Department vacancies and offers of retention.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members are in discussion. Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you so much. I just want to thank Public Safety Chair Okimoto for listing this, and of course for attending a meeting with myself, former Chief Logan, MD, and the Chair of the Police Commission. All of the people in the room echoed that they were in support of this. I do believe that no matter who is the interim or future chief, this is going to help them succeed. We need to have a written plan about the retention. This is going to include more than just patrol officers. We're going to strategize through equipment needs. How do we retain current people who feel like they're lacking training? A lot of the feedback comes from the 2024 Commander Survey, as well as meetings that I've had with each of the different divisions. The task force brings together council, administration, HPD, SHOPO, HGEA to develop a real plan forward, one with short-term and long-term steps. I thank Councilmember Kia'aina for her feedback. We did lengthen out the time to 180 days, but we hope to finish it sooner so that we can quickly start implementing this and bring down this shortage and better protect our communities. We thank HPD and all the officers for what they do to put their lives on the line. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Seeing none, CR-234 and Resolution 25-160, CD1 has been adopted. Moving to the bottom of page 31 from the Committee on Innovation, Technology, and Entertainment, Councilmember Tolba.
I move that Committee Report 235 and Resolution 25-161 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Tolba for the explanation.
Accept and give of registration fees valued at $3,000 from the International Association of Revenue Managers Region 7 Scholarship Program for a staff member of the Department of Enterprise Services to attend the 2025 Annual Venue Management School Year 1 in Palm Springs, California, on June 7th to the 12th of 2025.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do you have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have one person online with their hand raised.
Okay, let's go with the Tara Rojas and then Angela Melody Young.
Aloha, just one quick one, tech things. If you could have just the toolbar, if you can make the mic a little bit closer so we can hear. Just mahalo.
Thank you. Angela Melody Young.
Aloha, Angela Melody Young, testifying on behalf of CARES. So I think it'd be interesting to explore the topics of healthcare professionals like nurses and the intersection of the industry with law enforcement. Because, for example, with the administration, there was a implementing of CORE from Emergency Services, which was implemented to redirect law enforcement to do partnerships with healthcare professionals, because in this evolving modern times, there are needs to really upgrade things that are outdated. So I think what could help with officer retention is to try to find a nurse joint program or a dual practice opportunity with nurses that have advanced practice registered nurse like qualities to also get into law enforcement and to perhaps create a HPD training program at schools to build and strengthen the pipelines in high schools to help with recruitment.
Thank you very much.
And women in law enforcement is a state law that was mandated a few years ago. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Clerk, do you have any other testifiers?
Mr. Chair, that concludes the testifiers.
Thank you. Members are in discussion. Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting none, CR-235 and Resolution 25-161 has been adopted. Turning to the top of page 32, balance of committee reports. Vice Chair Wire.
I move that the balance of committee reports be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Vice Chair Wire for the explanation.
This is Planning, Infrastructure, and Transportation Committee Report 213, requesting consideration of the conveying roadway Lot 4, roadway Lot 5A, and grant of Drainage Easement E, and grant of Flowage Easements E and F for public use in ʻEwa. And then ILA Committee Reports 217, requesting authorization to settle Marquis Johnson v. City and County of Honolulu et al. 218, requesting authorization to settle Joshua Knepper et al. v. Michael Berger et al. 219, requesting authorization to settle claim against the City and County of Honolulu by Michelle R. Koyanagi. 220, requesting authorization to settle case against the City in DTRIC Insurance Company Limited v. City and County of Honolulu. And then 221, requesting authorization to settle several grievances and related civil cases involving the United Public Workers, Hawaii, and the Department of Environmental Services Refuse Division.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Any discussion, members? Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, the balance of committee reports has been adopted. Turning to page 33, there is no unfinished business. New business. Council Vice Chair Wire.
I move that Resolution 25-162 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Vice Chair Wire for the explanation.
It's identifying the dedicated source of revenue and pledge to repay loans with interest and loan fee provided by the state of Hawaii, Water Pollution Control Revolving Fund for various wastewater capital improvement projects.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Any discussion, members? Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting none, Resolution 25-162 has been adopted. Turning to the top of page 34, Vice Chair Wire.
I move that Resolution 25-163 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, Vice Chair Wire, for the explanation.
This is accepting a gift of 2 refrigerated containers, chassis, and motor generators valued at $1,430 from Matson Navigation Company for refrigeration of wreaths and lei for the Mayor's Memorial Day at the National Cemetery of the Pacific at Pu'uwaina on May 26, 2025.
Thank you. Is there a motion to amend? Vice Chair Wire.
I move the Resolution 25-163 be amended to the posted FT1.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, Vice Chair Wire, for the explanation of the amendment.
FT1 makes the amendment set forth in the written summary as posted on the agenda.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, any objections or reservations to the amendment? Seeing none, Resolution 25-163 has been amended to the posted FT. Any discussion? Seeing none, any objections or reservations to the posted FT1? Noting no objections or reservations, Resolution 25-163 FT1 has been adopted. Thank you. Vice Chair Wire.
I move the Resolution 25-166 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, Vice Chair Wire, for the explanation.
Accepting a gift of 2,800 coals valued at $5,600 to the city from the Honolulu Zoological Society for animal consumption.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Anybody from CARES want to testify? Okay, seeing none, members who are in discussion. Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, Resolution 25-166 has been adopted. Moving to the top of page 35, Vice Chair Wire.
I move that Resolution 25-167 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, Vice Chair Wire, for the explanation.
Accepting a gift of $5,000 to the city from Jensen and Richardson for the rehabilitation of the softball field at Huimanu Community Park in Kaneohe.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members who are in discussion. Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting none, Resolution 25-167 has been adopted. Vice Chair Wire.
I move that Resolution 25-169 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, Vice Chair Wire, for the explanation.
It's accepting a gift of a chief lease seat and other gifts valued at $22,010 to the city from the Prime Minister of the Cook Islands for display in the Mayor's office.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Any discussion? Council Member Cordero, followed by Okimoto.
Thank you, Chair. I was just wondering, when was this gift provided? Was this gift provided during FestPac?
Is there anybody from the administration able to answer that question? Budget Fiscal Service Director, do you know? Budget Fiscal Service Director is indicating he does not know. Councilmember Cordero?
Thank
What would
you.
you like to
I
do?
just wanted to note that we received this, I think, during FestPac in June, as stated in the Mayor's Message 88-2025. I know that the former director is no longer with us, but this took a while to come back, and I know that I've been in communication with her to get this to the council, but here we are almost a year later, and this is when we're finally accepting this as a gift. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Okimoto.
Thank you, Chair. I was along the same lines. I wanted to understand what the delay in was in having this report. It's about 11 months. So thank you. I agree with Councilmember Cordero. Just if the administration maybe could respond to that when they're at their convenience.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Seeing none. Any objections or reservations? Councilmember Cordero.
Reservations.
Okay, noting the reservations of Councilmember Cordero, Resolution 25-169 has been adopted. Moving to page 36, there are no items for the Committee on the Whole. Members, I believe that brings us back to, why don't we start with Bill 23? I think that might be the easiest one. Bill 23, CD2. On the floor is a motion to amend by Councilmember Dos Santos Tam to a hand-carried FD1. In an abundance of caution, Councilmember Dos Santos Tam, do you mind explaining your FD1 one more time?
Sure. Let me pull that up to be very clear. We can walk through each element of it. The amendments are listed in bold on the last 8 pages. Sorry, the last several pages, I should say. You know, I'll cut to the chase. The critical difference between my FD1 and the chair's offered FD1 is that the chair's proposing $30,900,000 in cash from the sewer, cash in the sewer fund for the Sand Island Wastewater Treatment Plant secondary treatment versus bonds. This requires us to identify a corresponding amount of cash from the operating side to pay for this. And so I wanted to, at the appropriate time, ask Budget and Fiscal Services to explain how the capital budgets and the operating budget ordinances are related, and for balancing purposes that we have to basically pick and choose versions that fit together and work together. I think that's the critical difference. There is a small difference in the amounts of money dedicated towards planning for the landfill site, given that the state legislature passed some bills, or passed a bill to restrict our ability to place it in the area that Mayor Blangiardi originally announced. But that's really the core difference that members and the public should be focusing on between these two FDs.
Now's the appropriate time if you'd like to ask that question, but just for the record, I'm not moving my version, only yours.
So just to be, thank you. And that was just a clarification because I think there's some confusion as to why one version should be moved versus the other, just so everybody's crystal clear.
Well, again, I mean, we do have a lot of bills left. If we're only moving your version, I think it's
thank you. Under point taken.
Councilmember Kia-Aina.
Thank you, Chair. And just for clarification purposes, Councilmember Dos Santos Tam, I just wanted to make sure that we could just have the discussion that in the removal of the 2.5 million in park improvements to mitigate visitor impacts, you are simply transferring it to the operations budget so that the Parks and Recreation Department could have greater flexibility. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I just needed that clarification. This has been a very critical resource tool for all of our districts to have DPR be able to utilize it to make improvements for our parks. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you, Chair. I do note that I made that recommendation in my CD2 as well. I know that it was reconsidered, now put back. I just want to note that I do want to continue that moving forward, but if we can keep better attention to those type of amendments, that would be awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. I did have a quick question, Councilmember Dos Santos Tam, if you don't mind.
Yes.
I note on the very end, there's a list, amendment list 17. Wasn't clear to me if your list of CIP projects, you numbered them.
Yes.
1 through 47. Was it meant to be numbered by priority, or it was just numbered?
They're
I was going to change that to
Correct.
ABC.
Yes,
rather than 1
that's
through
another
3.
difference. The reason why they're listed in this order is this is how they appear in the budget ordinance based on the different departments in order. So for example, in the budget ordinance, the Kapalama Canal project is first because it falls under DDC, and subsequent projects that fall under DPR, parks, would be further down on the list simply because that's where they appear in the budget.
Okay, so we're not asking the administration to do these in this order, but just to consider all of them.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Any follow-up questions, members? Seeing none? Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, there's one person with their hand raised online.
Okay, please proceed.
Aloha, Tara Rojas. Okay, so this bill 23, there's so much to go through and so many new changes that just came all at once. And mind you, we're just hearing about it, like for the first time and haven't been on it as, diligently as you all have. But from what I'm hearing, I'm thinking, and I was just wondering, would it be possible, and it seems to make more sense to have this Bill 23 after Bill 60 is discussed because it has to do, it correlates one with each other. And to that note, what I'm hearing from this Bill 23, this bill, is that the ENV director and the fiscal director, they really need to come prepared with the cash exact number and the bond exact number and their understanding of each proposal, whether it was hashed out many meetings or just from today, because it's like what was discussed today wasn't the first time from what I heard. And so if you can keep that in mind and possibly even give us like a little bit more time as testifiers to discuss this. But again, if this could come after Bill 60, it would seem to make the most sense.
Thank
Mahalo.
you. Any questions for the testifier members? Seeing none. Mr. Kirk, do we have any other testifiers?
Mr. Chair, that concludes the testifiers.
Thank you. Members, any further discussion? Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you, Chair. I think this question's mainly for my colleague in District 6 relating to the CIP for Cocoa Head Stables. And I was wondering, I know that and as former budget chair, I know that we weren't able to use it because CIP was not able to be utilized for demolition. And so I was wondering if that was going to be included or excluded out of the CIP. And I guess if I need to ask for further clarification, I can call up the administration too.
Councilmember Dos Santos Town.
Thank you. The FD1 does not make any changes based on what was approved in the CD2 with regard to the Cocoa Head Riding Stables or Cocoa Head District Park projects. Both of them are funded at $350,000 and $950,000 respectively.
Thank you, and that's in CIP or?
And that's in CIP.
Okay. Once again, I, as budget chair, I made the mistake of not of prolonging that project by putting it in CIP instead of cash. And so I don't know if there's another way to be able to either restore or change that.
Thank you for your concern for my district. Appreciate it, but I put it in CIP.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Seeing none, any objections to waiving, or excuse me, any objections to the amendment? Noting no objections to the amendment, Bill 23 CD2 has been amended to the hand-carried FD1. Any, excuse me? I can't hear you. Okay. Bill 23 CD2 FD1 has been amended to the posted CD submitted by Councilmember Dos Santos Tam, OCS 2025-0461. Any objections or reservations to waiving Rule 19G, the 48-hour notice requirement? Seeing none, the 48-hour notice has been waived. Any further discussion?
Chair.
Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you so much. I just had a quick question. I do believe on page 8. So on page 8 for the draft that you submitted, Chair, there was an addition, and I don't see it on page 8 of Chair Dos Santos' TAM. I know this is the 11th hour, but hey, we're moving at the 11th hour right now. So it said Waianae Police Station improvements, and what had happened was there was a bid protest. So I put this in for last year. The bid protest actually caused it to go back out to bid just like a week ago. So it's the monies are going to lapse. I'm not sure if you knew that, Chair, but you put it into yours, and I don't see it reflected here. It's so very, very important for my community because we are finally making headway on this. I'm not sure if it would be allowable. I know we just took a recess to amend this bill, but I just saw the difference in the two versions.
Okay, basically, if we were to amend this bill again, we would have to put it to the end of the calendar, possibly tomorrow, to give OCS the opportunity to redraft it. Then you'd make a motion for a new FD1.
Chair, go ahead.
Can we have Budget and Fiscal Services opine?
Councilmember Dos Santos Town.
Yeah, can we have Budget and Fiscal Services opine on this specific situation? Or perhaps HPD?
I just became aware that, Andy Kawano, Director of Budget and Fiscal Services, I became aware of the protest being lifted yesterday through email. I need to find out if we can make the cutoff date. Yeah, so I can make a call right now and see if, you know, what the probability is of getting everything done at the end of the month. If we can't, I'll let you know.
So given that the bid protest was lifted, is it simply a matter of encumbering the funds before June 30th, or do you have to expend the funds before June 30th? How does that work behind the scenes, behind the curtain within BFS?
Working backwards, we would want to issue the notice of award to encumber the funds. But in terms of when the protest went live, you know, got activated, I'm not sure where the procurement stood, because there are a number of steps before you award. You know, you send a notice of award to the vendor or offerer. So I have to find out where they stand.
Chair, at the appropriate time.
Sorry.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam, do you have any follow-up questions?
No.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you so much, Director, for your insight. It sounds like everything is basically right now. We're not sure all the details, but I can say that my main concern is if we do not put it back in the CIP, do we lose the funding? Because this is one of the very most discussed issue in my district about our police station and how it hasn't been finished. What is your recommendation so that we can continue this process and finish the project that we started? I do see that DDC director is behind you, and I know that it's with his department.
Good afternoon, Haku Millis, Director for Department of Design and Construction. I would recommend that this be put in just to be sure. I haven't been able to discuss with the team or with the likelihood of this going through by the end of the month. So that would be my recommendation, to make sure that this project is going to get out. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Director. Chair, I would politely and urgently and courteously ask the council if we could please add it. If I need to go ahead and beg right there in the front, I'll do it. I really would like to see this added back in as put in on your CD. It says Waianae Police Station improvements. It has the design and construction number for the council's consideration. Thank you, Chair.
Members, any objection to postponing this to the end of the calendar to take into account another FD? Seeing none, okay, let's postpone this till the end of the calendar. Moving on to page 17, Bill 24, Councilmember Dos Santos Tam.
Chair, I move that Committee Report 186 be adopted and Bill 24 pass third reading.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam for the explanation.
Chair, this authorizes the issuance and sale of general obligation bonds and bond anticipation notes of the City and County of Honolulu in a maximum principal amount equal to the aggregate of the amounts appropriated in the capital budget ordinance of said City and County for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2026, and specified in said ordinance to be financed from the proceeds of the sale of such bonds and to be expended from the General Improvement Bond Fund, the Highway Improvement Bond Fund, the Solid Waste Improvement Bond Fund, the Housing Development Special Fund, or the Taxable General Improvement Bond Fund.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do I have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members who are in discussion? Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia-Ina?
Aye.
Councilmember Nishimoto? Councilmember Okimoto?
Aye.
Councilmember Talba? Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR 186 has been adopted and Bill 24 has passed third reading. Moving to the bottom of page 17, Bill 60. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam.
Chair, I move that Committee Report 191 be adopted and Bill 60, 2024 CD2 as amended pass third reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam for the explanation.
This relates to sewers, drainage, and cesspools.
Thank you. Multiple members have floor drafts for consideration. Prior to accepting any motion to amend to a floor draft, I will be asking each council member to explain their proposed floor draft. Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you so much, Chair. I thank Budget Chair for all his hard work. I know that he's gone through so many different iterations, conversations with BFS over this. And one of the discussion points we had in Budget Committee was trying to shorten it to 5 years. He had proposed 7 years. I felt like there was going to be a period of time that we could possibly amend the $10 billion number down, but we would need time to do that. So my version suggests 5 years, but has the same rates as the current CD from Budget Chair. And I put it up for a suggestion to the council for our deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you. I propose OCS 20-25-0466, which would increase the sewer fee by 6.75% over the next 5 years. Basically, we have 3 versions on the table. That which passed out of the Budget Committee by Councilmember Dos Santos Tam, my version, as well as Councilmember Tupola's version. What I'd like to do, members, after taking testimony and discussion, put up for a vote first Councilmember Dos Santos Tam version. If that passes, we're done. If it doesn't pass, put up my version. If that passes, we're done. And if not, then we put up Councilmember Tupola's version. So having said that, let's move on to testimony. Mr. Clerk, do we have any registered testifiers?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have Ms. Iwasa and Shelby Billionaire, who's no longer with us.
Who's no longer?
Ms. Iwasa, please proceed.
Thank you, Natalie Wassa, for the record. I support the CD2 that was in, came out of the Budget Committee. First of all, thank you to E&B and BFS for their hard work on preparing those schedules for you folks. The CD2 that is currently on the agenda is a 6% increase up to 9% with a 40-60 split. And the average annual income requirements are about 5.5%. So 6% increase is a good way to handle that. The FD1 chair that you proposed, I'm a bit concerned about because it weighs the fixed portion of the fee on higher on the ratepayers. And so, you know, you've stressed how you're so concerned about the working families, but what you're doing with that particular amendment is putting more pressure, more increases on the lower end water users. And, you know, we have to realize, or you should realize, that more water usage leads to more maintenance costs. So I feel the 40-60 split is a fair way of doing that. With respect to council members, if I may, just one more comment. With Councilmember Tupola's idea about the WIFIA, I truly appreciate looking outside the box and trying to find additional funding. Just want to make you folks aware that the federal government has delayed some of those funds recently, and with the way that the federal government is working these days, that just doesn't seem to be like a very good way of trying to plan for our sewer infrastructure. So please pass the CD2 that was put out by the Budget Committee. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we have Shelby Billionaire.
Mr. Chair, the testifier is no longer with us. We also have 2 registered testifiers online standing by.
Okay, please proceed.
Aloha, Tara Rojas. Been waiting for this, and I just want to give you guys, thanks for holding it down for us, the taxpayers, on behalf of us. However, I'm extremely, extremely, extremely concerned with these, with all of them, even after watching the May 27 budget meeting. So in light of the expectation burdens of us taxpayers, residents to foot, the ENV proposed, the 5 billion plus sewer proposal, in addition to all the other increases and bills we have to pay, like homeowner insurance, utilities, upcoming storm fee, and the food now tariffs, and the fact that HCDA and DHHL think that 400 to 600,000 is attainable or low cost, which is not. I just really urge this council to choose the most truly affordable, the least lowest increase, maybe like 6 years max, and if at like 5%, for each year, and as was discussed, but somehow find some cash to be used, whether from vacancies or whatnot, and that the ENV and the Department of Budget and Fiscal, that you guys really sit down together, and open your guys' minds to hearing all the varieties and the proposals, and that so that, Kanaka and just residents are able to live here. Because if you are advocating for your district may be able to be buffer, like they have buffer to do a 6.75 whatever, or even 9% increase. But for those of us who, especially if you're like single parent households, or you're the lower income, or just like kind of barely paycheck to paycheck, we really need to do like the lowest possible, and we really need you all. So hopefully, Augie and Andrea, that you really advocate for the majority of us, because this is gonna make or break, our budget, like literally. So if also can Tam, you give a really brief summary of your rate proposal. Was that the 69%, the 40-60 split? But again, I really propose a 6%, 6 year at the most, and 5 to 6%, the lowest you can, and finding the cash, and you coming together again with the ENV and the Koano to really listen to each other, because we really are going to be priced out, and we're like born and raised to like 4th generation, and this is going to make a huge impact, because it's not even including everything else: food, tariffs, homeowner insurance, storm fee, water, and everything. So can you please, please, please continue this so that it gets down to the most affordable, the least percentage, and the least amount of years. Mahalo for the extra time, because I've been watching everything, listening, and I applaud you all, and I really need you all to keep going for us, because it's not attainable what the state and agencies think or are saying is affordable. 400,000 is not affordable for a lot of us. So mahalo.
Thank you. Appreciate your patience. Mr. Clerk, do we have any other testifiers?
Yes, we have Frank Doyle standing by remotely.
Hello, Mr. Doyle, please proceed.
Thank you. My name is Frank Doyle, and You know, with regard to the sewer fees, the council has been over the last months, really trying hard to restructure not only the fees as they come out, but also for the alternative financing. You know, none of this would have been necessary or certainly would have been easier had we had two things in place. The first thing is in the integrated planning process, which allows us to prioritize projects so that we could see just what's required, not only in the cost and the scheduling and the budgeting, but for many other things. And by prioritizing, I think a dropout would be made so that we could get the sewer fees in line, especially when we get rid of $2.5 billion of unnecessary capital improvement projects at Sand Island. In addition, we're missing the boat on this requirement for us to get with the EPA. You know, our organization has made some strides trying to get information to the ombudsman, and we've got some requests back, but nobody else seems to be pushing forward, which really get going with, you know, the discussion on changing the consent decree and modifying it. There's only two things that's going to make things happen. Really believe that until we suspend the funding of all projects at Sand Island, until we do have these discussions, meaningful discussions, and until ENV completes their final integrated planning process, and it should be completed within a year so that we have it in the FY27 budget prioritized, then we will be able to really make, you know, some meaningful decisions that require council to have the details, to have the cost, the benefits, and the schedules before them. And we can, and we do have time, by the way. We could do this within a year and still not have a problem, I believe, with EPA, because we are allowed to extend the consent decree out to 2038. It's in the consent decree. So I really urge the council to try and get the administration to make the move to initiate the discussion with EPA. And I really think the council should consider provisos within the budget to stop funding secondary treatment until those two items, the integrated planning process, is completed and the meaningful discussions with the EPA is ongoing, actually. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Doyle. Members, any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you again. Mr. Clerk, do we have any other testifiers?
Mr. Chair, one person in the chamber.
Thank you. Angela Melody Young.
Aloha, Angela Melody Young, testifying, wishing to comment. So what initially caused the federally mandated upgrade for from the EPA in 2010 from the prior administration was the order to modernize the system. So could the key be to work out something with the EPA to create a financial plan? So from the EPA, some of the Inflation Reduction Act is appropriated for the EPA office. The office in the county managing the distribution of funds and rebates is the Office of Climate Change, Resiliency, and Sustainability. So the IRA Act funds is an incredible source of alternative financing if the council can find a way to access it. So the Environmental and Climate Justice Program created by the Inflation Reduction Act within the Clean Air Act, Section 138, provides funding for financial and technical assistance to carry out environmental and climate justice activities, including county sewer upgrades, particularly for those that are focused on energy efficiency and clean energy projects within wastewater treatment facilities. And so, yeah, if you read the original federal mandate from 2010 from the EPA website, the consent decree, there was an exemption for the county to extend, and it was based on the rationale that if it's dealing with financial hardship. So I think the key could be to go back to the original office and work with it. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, any other testifiers?
Mr. Chair, that concludes the testifiers.
Okay. Thank you, members. We're in discussion. Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you so much, Chair. I just want to thank Director Babcock. You know, he's been in so many hearings with us this past week, and he's answered our letters, he's answered our questions. And, you know, the one thing about the current proposal, and I am not a committee member on budget, so I didn't have a vote, is that Director Kawano said that the 5 years was going to be sufficient for us to pay out what we had. And I think that that gives us adequate time to do exactly what Mr. Doyle said, have that meeting with the EPA, finish our integrated plan. I would be totally fine with us passing this if I knew that those 2 steps were taken, but we owe it to the people of this county to try. We have to try everything that we can. The thing that killed me when I saw the proposal was 9%, 3 years, year over year, that it's going to increase. I agree with Ms. Rojas, it's going to devastate our families. It's already so expensive right now. So I'm very concerned that if we do more than just the 5 years, which Director Kawano said we would be okay with, we're not giving ourselves enough time to try. And I don't want to have our residents stuck with 9%, 9%, 9% for the last 3 years if there's something that we can do. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But if we didn't try, as the quote says, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. I think we need to. I think we owe it to our constituents. I admire the budget chair. He works so very hard. He has a million notes on everything that he does. But I think for this one, I just really want us to try to see if we can't shave off those 2 years. So I'm in opposition of the bill in its current form, and that's why I proposed the floor draft. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you, Chair. First off, thank you to the Budget Chair for looking at my recommendation and passing it out for the 6 years as I looked at how we do our CIP projects, which is a 6-year CIP. I do want to note that overall, and I've been transparent with Director Babcock since we started talking about this for a long time, is that I was concerned that the program is going to be 100% on the ratepayers, and I understand that that's what is required to make the program self-sufficient. However, if we have the CARES program that will then allow for supporting those low income, that I was hoping that we could use some of that funding to then lower the percentage to pay it overall. I do know that it is something that we don't want to keep pushing down the line and making the increase even higher. So it's a very difficult decision to go either way. I do note that supporting 6 years, I guess, and I did get to meet with Director Kawano too as well, relating to 5 years, 6 years, immediately after, I'm going to say a day or two after that budget committee. So I would be open, I guess, to that as well. But looking at the different things moving forward, I just want to note that I've never had to talk to the city administration, both Director Babcock especially, in this extensive manner, but I do want to thank him and the city administration and just everyone who has shared their concerns for putting it forward. But once again, I did hope that anything that could save funding would lower the percentage for ratepayers. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion before I ask Councilmember Dos Santos Tam to make his motion? Councilmember Nishimoto.
Thank you, Chair. And I appreciate all the hard work that everyone's done on this bill. This current version in CD2, I will be voting against. I heard from my constituents loud and clear that the 6-year plan being put forward in this bill is just too far. 6, 7.5, 8.5, 9, 9, and 9 percentage increases are just too high. I'm also uncomfortable with the 3% yearly increase after 2033 in the bill. So please note my opposition.
Thank you. Any further discussion again before we have Councilmember Tolba? Sorry.
I'll be voting with reservations on this one. And I want to start by expressing my appreciation for the dedication and hard work for my fellow council members in advocating, for our community and seeking ways to ease the burden on our residents. I fully support the proposed new rate structure, which shifts to a 40% fixed and a 60% variable split. This change encourages conservation by giving ratepayers a meaningful opportunity to save money through reduced water use, which I believe is both fair and responsible. My reservation stems from recognition of ENV's clear intent to comply with the federal consent decree and ensure that our city invests adequately in critical wastewater infrastructure improvements. I firmly believe it is our responsibility to fund the necessary repairs and upgrades to our aging systems to protect public health and the environment. This sewer fee increase is an important part of that commitment. That said, I hope that over the coming year, we can work closely with the EPA to clarify the secondary containment requirements. Having a clear understanding will allow us to revisit and adjust this policy as needed, ensuring that we have the right balance between funding vital infrastructure and minimizing unintended impacts on our residents. I also want to commend ENV for the customer assistance for residential environmental service CARES program, which provides much needed financial relief to eligible households facing these increases. However, I echo my colleagues in saying that this remains a heavy lift for many families, and I encourage continued efforts to find additional ways to assist residents so that while we meet our infrastructure obligations, we do not lose sight of the very real financial challenges faced by our community members. I support the principle of this increase as necessary and responsible, but we'd hope that we will continue to refine and improve it as we gather more information in the months ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Kia'aina.
Thank you, Chair. During the Budget Committee, I had expressed my desire for a 5-year plan, but I did vote for the Budget Chair's measure of 6 years because that was on the table. Having said that, I was going to introduce a amendment that is similar to Councilmember Tupola's amendment. And so her draft is more in alignment with where I stand. However, I do know that there's three measures on the floor, so I would be voting accordingly. I do want to say to Mr. Dole and others, it is not so easy. I think it would be negligent for all of us right now to just disregard the consent decree and not support efforts by the administration to abide by them. If it was so easy to modify the consent decree, it would have been done. So please know that there are several of us on the City Council who understand full well what is going on with regard to the integrated planning process as well as EPA concerns. And I think I would just caution everyone, because I have every intent on inserting myself in having discussions with EPA, but please do so gingerly. In other words, this issue is so important. If you do not coordinate and you just do what you want to do, you could be jeopardizing any effort for us to influence EPA, and that's all I want to say. And with regard to the administration, again, I said it earlier, any consultation with EPA or anybody at the White House or the administration should be coordinated with the managing director's office so that you could also understand the delicacy of things that are going on at the federal level. So I will be voting no against the CD2, and then I will reserve my judgment for the last two amendments.
Thank you. Okay. Actually, I have a question for OCS. If we vote on the CD2 and it fails, are we then able to vote on the floor drafts?
Hi, Lord Yoshoka, Office of Council Services. Yes, you'd be, if you take up the main motion and it fails, you could attempt to amend the CD2 to an FD1, and if that passes, that'll become the main motion.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, so the motion on the floor is to pass the CD2. Any objections? Everybody under, actually, Councilmember Dos Santos Stam, do you mind just explaining one more time each year what you're proposing?
Sure. Thank you, Chair. Again, this is the version that came out in the CD2. As Councilmember Tolba mentioned, this changes the split between base and volumetric to 40% and 60% respectively. It increases, it significantly decreases the base charge starting in 2026 and then increases it through 2031. And then also changes the volumetric amount, that is the per gallon amount, starting on January 1st, 2026, and then again on July 1st of 2026 through July 1st of 2031. The challenge, you know, we've all been talking about percentage rates. It's hard to, based on the 40-60 split, it's a little bit harder to assess a percentage rate overall because different families, depending on how much water they save or how much water they use, are going to have different amounts. But this version takes us through July 1st of 2031. That's the last increase in here. And then thereafter, there is an increase of 3% for FY23 and thereafter, 33 and thereafter.
Yeah, OCS is asking you to restate the motion.
Yes,
but
and then the overall...
Finish your argument
yes.
first.
And then the overall, and the other critical thing in the CD2 is it does contain language about a customer assistance program at the end of section 5. So the overall motion that I'd like to make for the version coming out of committee is I move that committee report 191 be adopted and bill 60, 2024 CD2 is amended, past third reading.
Okay, thank you. And to be clear, that was 6.75% the first year, 7.75% the second year?
If you take the overall amount, yes, but for different families, it'll be different amounts. For those saving water, their overall bill that they receive for the first 2 years, if you're using 2,000 gallons or 4,000 gallons, basically less than about 5,500 gallons, your sewer bill will actually go down next year versus what it is today for the next 2 years and then pick up. For those using a great deal of water, they're going to see their rates go up starting on January 1st of 2026.
Right. Again, so 6, 7, 8, and then followed by how many years of 9% increases? 2 or actually 3 or 4?
If you, again, if you take the average, it ends up being the last 4 years, starting in 2028, 2029, 2030, and 2031.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any objections or reservations to the CD2? Let's go from left to right. Councilmember Tupola.
No, respectfully.
Councilmember, aye. Councilmember Kiano?
No.
Councilmember Cordero?
Reservations.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Councilmember Okimoto?
Reservations.
Councilmember Nishimoto? No. Councilmember Tolba? Reservations, and I'm a no. Measure passes 5-4. Okay, moving on. Page 8, well, I have to say it, right? CR 91 has been adopted and Bill 60, 2024, CD2 FD1 passes third reading. Okay, moving to page 18, members. Page 18, Resolution 25-75. Pardon me. The clerk's corrected me. CR 191 has been adopted and Bill 60, 2024, CD2 passes third reading. Thank you. Mr. Clerk, are we able to, excuse me, OCS, are we able to pass Resolution 25-75 before we do the budget? Okay. Members, I'm going to put off Resolution 25-75 till after the budget. That sets the tax rates, just as an abundance of caution. Okay, moving to page 19. Page 19, Bill 31.
Yep. Chair, I move that Committee Report 194 be adopted and Bill 31 CD1 pass third reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam for the explanation.
This relates to the Transit Construction Mitigation Fund.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have no registered testifiers, one person in the chamber.
Okay, please proceed.
Aloha, Angela Melody Young, testifying on behalf of CARES. Wishing to comment. So I think the amendment was to raise the $750,000 to $1 million. And so I'm just wondering if then the threshold is not going to help the businesses that are making less than $1 million. So for example, when I look at the workshops for businesses that get grants, for example, from YWCA, the Women's Leadership Business Training, $250,000 in annual income is low end, and high end is $5 million. And companies I work with, a small nonprofit with operating budget of $200,000 with one location and 30 people on staff is like a small company. And then a bigger company can have 3 or 4 locations with a $1 million revenue. So I think to keep the threshold at perhaps $200,000 to $1 million can help more businesses along the HART corridor for those who are experiencing economically distressed and disadvantaged things.
Thank you. Do we have any other testifiers? I believe we have Tara Rojas on Bill 31.
Yeah. Aloha, Tara Rojas, but I have to say it. I'm so disappointed because reservation is a yes. And instead of amending or really listening to your constituents, we're stuck with 6.75, 7.75, 8, 9, and 3 every year thereafter. What can be done? When is the next time you can amend this? Because this is unacceptable. Like 3 people speaking for the whole island. And again, my own, my goodness. 5-4, if you weren't happy with it, you could have amended it or said no, or do just what we the people.
I'm sorry, Ms. Rojas.
So I'm sorry, I'm so disappointed. I'm really disappointed.
Thank you. Do you have any comments on Bill 31?
No, and even just with the technology that you only can mute, unmute. So, but again, really listen to your constituents because we're gonna feel the effects. And this is only sewer, not even include anything else. You should, no is no, you really disregard reservations and really listen to your constituents. Wow.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any other testifiers, Mr. Clerk? Bill 31.
Mr. Chair, that concludes the testifiers.
Thank you. Members are in discussion. Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia-ino?
Aye.
Councilmember Nishimoto? Councilmember Okimoto?
Aye.
Councilmember Toba? Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR 194 has been adopted in Bill 31. CD1 has passed 3rd reading. Moving to the bottom of page 19, from the Committee on Public Safety and Customer Services, Councilmember Okimoto.
Thank you, Chair. I move that Committee Report 229 and Bill 38 pass 3rd reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Okimoto for the explanation.
Relating to ocean safety.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have no registered testifiers, one person in the chamber.
Okay, please proceed.
Aloha, Angela Melody Young, testifying on behalf of CARES, voting yes for this ordinance. Ocean safety became a standalone office last year, and since then I've got to learn a lot about the operations. And it's very necessary to facilitate the transition of responsibilities of sunset to sunrise to the new chief. On Mondays and Wednesdays, I get to go to Magic Island, Ala Moana Beach, and I get to talk with some of the people from Tower 1E, the lifeguard tower at Magic Island. And they have a girl lifeguard. And although it's not an industry standard to get women on board for lifeguard duties. I think it is very helpful to have women on lifeguard duties because women tend to have more of a mother's instinct to healthcare management purviews. And so I'm very happy to learn a lot about the lifeguard team at Ala Moana. They seem very well trained. So yeah, I'm voting yes for this.
Unfortunately, you don't have a vote, but thank you very much. Any other testifiers?
Mr. Chair, that concludes the testifiers.
Thank you. Members are in discussion. Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
Aye.
Councilmember Nishimoto? Councilmember Okimoto?
Aye.
Councilmember Talba? Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR-229 has been adopted and Bill 38 has passed third reading. Okay, moving on to page 14. Page 14, Bill 36, CD1. Councilmember Wire, do you want to restate your motion?
Of course, Chair. So I move that Bill 36 CD1 be amended to the hand-carried FD1 designated as OCS 2025-0491. Just noting, this is the original one from this morning that reflected Core's amendments, so I don't know if you want me to read them off, but those were the ones I read earlier.
Yes, thank you. Okay, do we have any testifiers, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Okay, we're in discussion on the motion to amend. Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you, Chair. I know that I mentioned that I really wanted the council to have reporting back. I do note that it is within the FD at on 2C, as well as would be reflected in further provisos in the budget as well. I did have an amendment that would reflect the CD1 that I thought was in this bill from budget. However, I do have the dates wrong, so I won't be proposing that in addition. So I guess I would be okay with the FD1 by Councilmember Wire.
Okay. Any further discussion? Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you so much, Chair. You know, I thank the introducer for allowing me to introduce the CD and entertaining it. However, you know, with the new FD proposal, I can't be in support. I do think that we need to be very mindful that we have this oversight. I think that the provisions within the budget could allow that for us as opposed to doing it this way. And so I'll be voting no on this bill. Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion before we vote? Councilmember Nishimoto.
Please note my opposition.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, now I'm asking for any objections or reservations, noting the no vote for Councilmember Tupola, Councilmember Nishimoto. I am a no vote as well.
Chair.
Councilmember Kia Aina.
Chair, no vote.
Councilmember Tolba is a no. Councilmember Kia Aina. Kia Aina is a no. Okay, any other no votes?
No vote.
Councilmember Okimoto is a no. Okay, the motion to amend fails. My count is 3 yeses, 6 noes. Is that accurate, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the motion to amend fails, which brings us back to the CD1. CD1. Yeah, so this requires a roll call vote on the CD1. Mr. Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
No.
Councilmember Nishimoto? Councilmember Okimoto?
No.
Councilmember Talba? No. Councilmember Tupola?
No.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
No.
Mr. Chair, there are 3 ayes and 6 noes.
Okay, the motion fails. Thank you, members. Moving on. Are we ready to go on Resolution 25-146?
Yes.
Transfer of funds. Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you, Chair. I move that Resolution 25-146 be amended to the proposed FD1.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Can you explain the FD1?
Thank you, Chair. In the third whereas clause amends the reference to 13.5 million in general fund monies to 8.5 million. In the be it resolved clause, it amends the reference to 13.5 million in general fund monies to 8.5 million and amends the amount transferred from Administrative Services Patrol from 11.1 million to 6.1 million, makes miscellaneous technical and non-substantive amendments.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers on the proposed amendment?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Seeing none, any objections or reservations to the FD1, to the amendment? Seeing none. Reso 25-146 has been amended to the hand-carried FD1. Any objections or reservations to waiving Council Rule 19G, the 48-hour notice? Seeing none, the 48-hour notice has been waived. Any further discussion on Resolution 25-146 FD1? Seeing none, any objections at this point to the FD? Seeing none, CR202 and Resolution 25-146 FD1 has been adopted. Thank you, members. What we have left is Bill 22, CD2, Bill 23, CD2, and Resolution 25-75. It's now 7 o'clock. I know, so basically
5 o'clock?
Sorry, felt like 7 o'clock. I've been standing the whole time. Okay, we could proceed and debate. I know before lunch, we talked about postponing this till tomorrow. But what's your druthers? Councilmember Cordero?
I would like to continue today.
Okay. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Chair, I'd like to continue today. I'd also like to point out that the real property tax reso, I believe that all versions that have been offered thus far are balanced based on those rates envisioned in that reso, so at least we can get that out of the way.
Okay, thank you. Good idea. Councilmember Tupola?
I would like to move today if possible. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Kiaina.
Yes, after my colleagues told me about their schedules, I'm more inclined to stick through the evening, and I do appreciate the cookies that was given to me to keep my energy up alive. Thank you so much. But I would recommend that in addition to the RPT resolution rates, that we consider the CIP budget resolution first, followed by the operating budget.
Okay, we are waiting for the amendment by Councilmember Tupola for the CIP budget, yeah. But I will take Councilmember Dos Santos Tam's suggestion and move forward with Resolution 25-75, located on page 18. Determine the real property tax rates for the City and County of Honolulu for fiscal year July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2026. Basically, it remains flat. So, Councilmember Dos Santos Tam.
Chair, I move that Committee Report 189 and Resolution 25-75 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam for the explanation.
Chair, this determines the real property tax rates for the City and County of Honolulu for the fiscal year July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2026.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Yes, we have Ms. Iwasa registered to testify.
Okay, please proceed.
Thank you. Natalie Watson for the record. I oppose this, and I'm sure I sound like a broken record, but you know, it was reported in today's paper that the real property tax rates for residential properties only went up about 1.4%. Average residential A went up 5%, but that doesn't take into account that when the properties pass that $1 million threshold, they get an automatic 15% increase in taxes. And so, and that happens even if the assessed value goes up only $1,000. There's been no movement on changing that threshold, no movement on discussion of real property tax exemptions, no movement on a permitted interaction group. And you folks have recognized that renters are being hit. So we have the highest or among the highest rents in the nation. And one of the reasons is this high residential A tax rate. I understand you have to pass this today to make everything work in the budget, but I ask that you take a look at the, I'm looking at the budget chair, the exemptions, because I think that is a way where we can get more money into the city more fairly, more equitably. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any other testifiers?
Mr. Chair, that concludes the testifiers.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero? Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kiaina?
Aye.
Councilmember Nishimoto? Councilmember Okimoto?
Aye.
Councilmember Talba? Councilmember Tupola?
Excused.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 7 ayes, 2 members are absent.
Thank you. CR 189 and Resolution 25-75 has been adopted. As I mentioned, members, we still have Bill 22 and Bill 23 outstanding. What I propose that we do is take an hour break. In the meantime, please get something to eat. But I'd like to take a few minutes to talk to Managing Director Mike Formby, as well as Budget and Fiscal Services Director Andy Quano, to possibly make some suggestions for the budget. Councilmember Kiaina.
Chair, yes, I do think it'd be good to take a break so you can continue to dialogue, but is it possible for us to just take a half an hour break? Because I don't think most of us are going to be taking a dinner break. I think we were going to move through. We just want to take a small break, move through, and come back to business. And if 1 hour is the time that is needed so that we can come to closure on the operating budget, then that would be a different story. I'm just wondering, don't do it for us, because I think we're ready to just move forward.
Well, any amendments we make that aren't already filed is going to necessitate Office of Council Services going back, putting it in writing, putting it on your desk so you can read it,
Okay.
and then vote on it. So, by the way, any amendments, I'd imagine is going to take 2 to 3 hours,
Okay,
just so you know. So maybe you're right, we do a half-hour break and then reassess from there.
reassess the universe of amendments and the time frame necessary to get them done.
Correct.
Okay, okay, that sounds like a plan.
Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. I was just curious, are we expecting an additional draft of the operating?
Yeah, I was gonna, my draft set aside $19 million into this sewer provisional fund. Budget and Fiscal Services Director said they're not gonna use it. So we could decide where we wanna use it. We could use it to fund your ambulance in Ko'olaupoco. We could use it for the, any of the other things that didn't make the budget. Or we just don't use it at all and put it back into the departments.
If I may, for discussion.
Yeah, please.
And I just asked for clarity because, you know, I know we did multiple amendments for the budget. And in our proposed amendments, I know we just had 2 district-specific amendments, the ambulance and the additional funding for the similar program to what happened to Chinatown to happen in Waiwa. And so I guess the question was, I withdrew the 20 grand, the minor amendment today in hopes of getting the only other district amendment we had still in, the ambulance. And so I guess the question is if we're wanting to try to incorporate the other amendment that we put forward, would we want to draft, or would we want to take Chair's last version to try to add so we could vote on that? I'm just asking for timing purposes, right?
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of discussion from BFS saying that we're cutting warm bodies. That's one of the things I wanted to talk to them about, because we absolutely do not want to do that. But yeah, let's take a half-hour break, and then we can come back and discuss everything on the table, and I could update you folks on what's going on. Okay, we're in recess until 5:30.